moment you've all been waiting for. These 12 lovely ladies have all agreed to auction their first dance bidder. Oh no, I blushed to toe. I hadn't realized what this meant. How humiliating. It's for a good cause. Mia hisses at me, sensing my discomfort. Besides, Christian will win. She rolls her eyes. I can't imagine him letting anyone outbid him. He hasn't taken his eyes off you all evening. Yes, focus on the good cause, and Christian is bound to win. Let's face it, he's not short of a dime or two. But it means spending more money on you. My subconscious snarls at me. But I don't want to dance with anyone else. I can't dance with anyone else. And it's not spending money on me. He's donating it to the charity.
Remember when you put news?
Like the $24,000 he's already spent? My subconscious narrows her eyes. Shit. I seem to have gotten away with my impulsive bid. Why am I arguing with myself? Now, gentlemen, pray gather round and take a good look at what could be yours for the first dance. 12 comely and compliant wenches.
Is it done?
Jeez, I feel like I'm in a meat market. I watch, horrified, as at least 20 men make their way to the stage area. Christian included, moving with easy grace between the tables and pausing to say a few hellos on the way. Once the bidders are assembled, the MC begins. Ladies and gentlemen, in the tradition of the masquerade, we shall maintain the mystery behind the masks and stick to first names only. First up, we have the lovely Jada. Jada is giggling like a schoolgirl, too.
Cool girl.
Maybe I won't be so out of place. She's dressed head to foot in navy taffeta, with a matching mask. Two young men step forward expectantly. Lucky Jada. Jada speaks fluent Japanese, is a qualified fighter pilot, and an Olympic gymnast. The MC winks. Gentlemen, what am I bid? Jada gapes, astounded at the MC. Obviously, he's talking complete garbage. She grins shyly back at the two contenders. $1,000, one calls. Very quickly, the bidding escalates to $5,000. Going once, going twice, sold, the MC declares loudly, to the gentleman in the mask. And of course, all the men are wearing masks, so there are hoots of laughter, applause, and cheering. Jada beams at her purchaser and quickly exits the stage. See? This is fun. I hope Christian wins you, though. We don't want a brawl. She adds. Brawl? I answer, horrified. Oh, yes. He was very hot-headed when he was younger. She shudders. Christian? Brawling? Refined, sophisticated, likes Tudor choral music Christian? I can't see it. The MC distracts me with his next introduction. A young woman in red, with long, jet black hair. Gentlemen, may I present the wonderful Mariah. What are we going to do about Mariah? She's an experienced matador, plays the cello to concert standard, and she's a champion pole vaulter. How about that, gentlemen? What am I bid, please, for a dance with the delightful Mariah? Mariah glares at the MC, and someone yells very loudly, $3,000! It's a masked man with blonde hair and beard. There's one counterbid, but Mariah sells for $4,000. Christian is watching me like a hawk. Brawler Trevelyan Gray. Who would have known? How long ago? I ask again. She glances at me, nonplussed. How long ago was Christian brawling? Early teens? Drove my parents crazy. Coming home with cut lips and black eyes. He was expelled from 2 schools. He inflicted some serious damage on his opponents. I gape at her. Hasn't he told you? She sighs. He got quite a bad rep among my friends. He was really persona non grata for a few years, but it stopped when he was about 15 or 16. She shrugs. Holy fuck. Another piece of the jigsaw falls into place. So, what am I bid for the gorgeous Jill? $4,000. A deep voice calls from the left side. Jill squeals in delight. I stopped paying attention to the auction. So, Christian was in that kind of trouble at school, fighting. I wonder why. I stare at him. Lily is watching us closely. And now, allow me to introduce the beautiful Anna. Oh shit, that's me. But stand, embarrassed as hell, on display for everyone. Hey, Christian, he's smirking at me. The bastard. Beautiful Anna plays 6 musical instruments, speaks fluent Mandarin, and is keen on yoga. Well, gentlemen? Before he can even finish his sentence, Christian interrupts him, glaring at the MC through his mask. $10,000. I hear Lily's gasp of disbelief behind me. Oh fuck. 15. What? We all turn as one to a tall, impeccably dressed man standing to the left of the stage. I blink at 50. Shit. What will he make of this? But he's scratching his chin and giving the stranger an ironic smile. It's obvious Christian knows him. The stranger nods politely at Christian. Well, gentlemen, we have high rollers in the house this evening. The MC's excitement emanates through his harlequin mask as he turns to beam at Christian. This is a great show, but it's at my expense. I want to wail. 20, counters Christian quietly. The babble of the crowd has died. Everyone is staring at me, Christian, and a Mr. Mysterious by the stage. 25, the stranger says. Could this be any more embarrassing? Christian stares at him impassively, but he's amused. All eyes are on Christian. What's he going to do? My heart is in my mouth. I feel sick. $100,000, he says, his voice ringing clear and loud through the tent. What the fuck? Lily hisses audibly behind me, and a general gasp of dismay and amusement ripples through the crowd. The stranger holds his hands up in defeat, laughing, and Christian smirks at him. From the corner of my eye, I can see Mia bouncing up and down with glee. $100,000 for the lovely Anna. Going once, going twice. The MC stares at the stranger, who shakes his head with mock regret and bows chivalrously. Sold! The MC cries out triumphantly. In a deafening round of applause and cheering, Christian steps forward to take my hand and help me from the stage. He gazes at me with an amused grin as I make my way down, kisses the back of my hand, then tucks it into the crook of his arm and leads me toward the tent's exit. Who was that? I ask. He gazes down at me. Someone you can meet later. Right now, I want to show you something. We have about 30 minutes until the first dance auction. A very expensive dance, I mutter disapprovingly. I'm sure it'll be worth every single cent. He smiles down at me wickedly. Oh, he has a glorious smile, and the ache is back, blossoming in my body. We're out on the lawn. I thought we would be heading to the boathouse, but disappointingly, we seem to be heading to the dance floor where the big band is now setting up. There are at least 20 musicians, and a few guests are milling about, furtively smoking. But since most of the action is back in the tent, we don't attract too much attention. Christian leads me to the rear of the house and opens a French window leading into a large, comfortable sitting room that I've not seen before. He He walks through the deserted hall toward the sweeping staircase with its elegant, polished wooden balustrade. Taking my hand from the crook of his arm, he leads me up to the second floor and up another flight of stairs to the third. Opening a white door, he ushers me into one of the bedrooms. This was my room, he says quietly, standing by the door and locking it behind him. It's large, stark, and sparsely furnished. The walls are white, as is the furniture. A double bed, a desk and chair, shelves crammed with books and lined with various trophies for kickboxing by the look of them. The walls are hung with movie posters, The Matrix, Fight Club, The Truman Show, and 2 framed posters featuring kickboxers. One is named Giuseppe De Natale. I've never heard of him. But what catches my eye is the white bulletin board above the desk, studded with myriad photographs, mariners' pennants, and ticket stubs. It's a slice of young Christian. My eyes come back to the magnificent man now standing in the center of the room. He looks at me, darkly, brooding and sexy. I've never brought a girl in here, he murmurs. Never? I whisper. He shakes his head. I swallow convulsively, and the ache that has been bothering me for the last couple of hours is roaring now, raw and wanting. Seeing him standing there on the royal blue carpet in that mask, it's beyond erotic. I want him, now, any way I can get him. I have to resist launching myself at him and ripping his clothes off. He waltzes over to me slowly. We don't have long, Anastasia, and the way I'm feeling right in this moment, we won't need long. Turn around. Let me get you out of that dress. I turn and stare at the door, grateful that he's locked it. Bending down, he whispers softly in my ear, "Keep the mask on." I groan as my body clenches in response. He's not even touched me yet. He grasps the top of my dress, his fingers sliding against my skin, and the touch reverberates through my body. In one swift move, he opens the zipper. Holding my dress, he helps me to step out of it, then turns and drapes it artfully over the back of a chair. Removing his jacket, he places it over my dress. He pauses and stares at me for a moment, drinking me in. I'm in the basque in matching panties, and I revel in his sensuous gaze. You know, Anastasia, he says softly as he stalks toward me, undoing his bow tie so it hangs from either side of his neck, then undoing the top 3 buttons of his shirt. I was so mad when you bought my auction lot. All manner of ideas ran through my head. I had to remind myself that punishment is off the menu. But then, you volunteered. He gazes down at me through his mask. Why did you do that? He whispers. Volunteer? I don't know. Frustration? Too much alcohol? Worthy cause? I mutter meekly, shrugging. Maybe to get his attention? I needed him then. I need him more now. The ache is worse, and I know he can soothe it. Calm this roaring, salivating beast in me when the beast in him hung on me. I vowed to myself I would not spank you again, even if you begged me. Please, I beg. But then I realized you're probably very uncomfortable at the moment, and it's not something you're used to. He smirks knowingly at me, arrogant bastard. But I don't care, because he's absolutely right. Yes, I breathe. So there might be a certain latitude. If I do this, you must promise me one thing. Anything. You will safe word if you need to, and I will just make love to you, okay? Yes! I'm panting. I want his hands on me. He swallows, then takes my hand and moves toward the bed. Throwing the duvet aside, he sits down, grabs a pillow, and places it beside him. suddenly tugs hard on my hand so that I fall across his lap. He shifts slightly so my body is resting on the bed, my chest on the pillow, my face to one side. Leaning over, he sweeps my hair over my shoulder and runs his fingers through the plume of feathers on my mask. Put your hands behind your back, he murmurs. Oh. He removes his bow tie and uses it to quickly bind my wrists so that my hands are tied behind me, resting in the small of my back. You really want this, Anastasia? I close my eyes. This is the first time since I met him that I really want this. I need it. Yes, I whisper. Why? He asks softly as he caresses my behind with his palm. I groan as soon as his hand makes contact with my skin. I don't know why. You tell me not to overthink. After a day like today, arguing about the money, Layla, Mrs. Robinson, the dossier on me, the roadmap, this lavish party, the masks, the alcohol, the silver balls, the auction. I want this. Do I need a reason? No, baby, you don't, he says. I'm just trying to understand you. His left hand curls around my waist, holding me in place as his palm leaves my behind and lands hard, just above the junction of my thighs. The pain connects directly with the ache in my belly. Oh, man. I moan loudly. He hits me again, in exactly the same place. I groan again. 2, he murmurs. We'll go with 12. Oh my. This feels different than the last time. So carnal, so necessary. He caresses my behind with his long, fingered hands, and I am helpless, trussed up and pressed into the mattress at his mercy and of my own free will. He hits me again, sliding to the side, and again to the other side, then pauses as he slowly peels my panties down and pulls them off. He gently trails his palm across my behind again before continuing my spanking, each stinging smack taking the edge off my need, or fueling it. I don't know. I surrender myself to the rhythm of blows, absorbing each one, savoring each one. 12, he murmurs, his voice low and harsh. He caresses my behind again and trails his finger down toward my sex and slowly sinks 2 fingers inside me.
I'm gonna stick 2 fingers in a foot inside.
Around and around and around, torturing me. I moan loudly as my body takes over, and I come and come, convulsing around his fingers. It's so intense, unexpected, and quick. That's right, baby, he murmurs appreciatively. He unties my wrists, keeping his fingers inside me as I lie panting and spent over him. I've not finished with you yet, Anastasia, he says, and shifts without removing his fingers. He eases my knees onto the floor so that now I'm leaning over the bed. He kneels on the floor behind me and undoes his zipper. He slides his fingers out of me, and I hear the familiar tear of the foil packet. Open your legs, he growls, and I comply. He strokes my behind and eases into me. This is going to be quick, baby, he murmurs, and grabbing my hips, he eases out and slams into me. Ah! I cry out, but the fullness is heavenly.
Why does iPhone lock?
He's hitting the bellyache square on, again and again, eradicating it with each sharp, sweet thrust. The feeling is mind-blowing, just what I need. I push back to meet him, thrust for thrust. Anna, no, he grunts, trying to still me. But I want him too much, and I grind against him, matching him thrust for thrust. Anna, shit! He hisses as he comes, and a tortured sound sets me off again, spiraling into a healing orgasm that goes on and wrings me out and leaves me spent and breathless. Christian bends and kisses my shoulder, then pulls out of me. Placing his arms around me, he rests his head in the middle of my back, and we lie like this, both kneeling at the bedside, for what? Seconds? Minutes even, as our breathing calms. My bellyache has disappeared, and all I feel is a soothing, satisfying serenity. Christian stirs and kisses my back. I believe you owe me a dance, Miss Steele, he murmurs. I respond, savoring the absence of achiness and basking in the afterglow. He sits back on his heels and pulls me off the bed onto his lap. We don't have long. Come on. He kisses my hair and forces me to stand. I grumble, but sit back down on the bed and collect my panties from the floor and scoop them on. Lazily, I walk to the chair to retrieve my dress. I note with dispassionate interest that I did not remove my shoes during our illicit tryst. Christian is tying his bow tie, having finished straightening himself and the bed. As I slip my dress back on, I check out the photographs on the bulletin board. Christian, as a sullen teen, was gorgeous even then, with Elliot and Mia on the ski slopes, on his own in Paris. The Arc de Triomphe serving as a giveaway to his location. In London, New York, the Grand Canyon, Sydney Opera House, even the Great Wall of China. Master Gray was well-traveled at a young age. There are ticket stubs to various concerts. U2, Metallica, The Verve, Sheryl Crow, the New York Philharmonic performing Prokofiev's Romeo and Juliet. What an eclectic mix! And in the corner, there's a passport-sized photograph of a young woman. It's in black and white. She looks familiar, but for the life of me, I can't place her. Not Mrs. Robinson, thank heavens. Who's this? I ask. No one of consequence, he mutters as he slips on his jacket and straightens his bow tie. Shall I zip you up? Please. Then why is she on your bulletin board? An oversight on my part. How's my tie? He raises his chin like a small boy, and I grin and straighten it for him. Now, it's perfect. Like you, he murmurs and grabs me, kissing me passionately. Feeling better? Much. Thank you, Mr. Gray. The pleasure was all mine, Miss Steele. The guests are assembling on the dance floor. Christian grins at me. We've made it just in time. And he leads me on. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the first dance. Mr. and Dr. Gray, are you ready? Herrick nods in agreement, his arms around Grace. Ladies and gentlemen of the first dance auction, are you ready? We all nod in agreement. Mia is with someone I don't recognize. I wonder what happened to Sean. Then we shall begin. Take it away, Sam. A young man strolls onto the stage amid warm applause, turns to the band behind him, and snaps his fingers. The familiar strains of I've Got You Under My Skin fill the air. Christian smiles down at me, takes me in his arms, and starts to move. Oh, he dances so well, making it easy to follow. We grin at each other like idiots as he whirls me around the dance floor. I love this song, Christian murmurs, gazing down at me. Seems very fitting. He's no longer grinning, but serious. You're under my skin, too, I respond. Or you were in your bedroom. He purses his lips, but he's unable to hide his amusement. Miss Steele, he admonishes me teasingly. I had no idea you could be so crude. Mr. Gray, neither did I. I think it's all my recent experiences. They've been an education. For both of us. Christian is serious again, and it could just be the two of us and the band. We are in our own private bubble. As the song finishes, we both applaud. Sam, the singer, bows graciously and introduces his band. May I continue? I recognize the man who bid on me at the auction. Christian grudgingly lets me, but he's amused too. Be my guest. Anastasia. This is John Flynn. John. Anastasia. Shit. Christian grins and wanders off to one side of the dance floor. How do you do, Anastasia? Dr. Flynn says smoothly, and I realize he's British. Hello, I stutter. The band strikes up another song, and Dr. Flynn than I imagined, though I can't see his face. He's wearing a mask similar to Christian's. He's tall, but not as tall as Christian, and he doesn't move with Christian's easy grace. What do I say to him? Why is Christian so fucked up? Why did he bid on me? It's the only thing I want to ask him, but somehow that seems rude. I'm glad to finally meet you, Anastasia. Are you enjoying yourself? He asks. I was, I whisper. Oh, I hope I'm not responsible for your change of heart. He gives me a brief, warm smile that puts me a little more at ease. Dr. Flynn, you're the shrink. You tell me. He grins. That's the problem, isn't it? The shrink bit. I giggle. I'm worried what I might reveal, so I'm a little self-conscious and intimidated. And really, I only want to ask you about Christian. He smiles. First, this is a party, so we're not on duty. He whispers conspiratorially. And second, I really can't talk to you about Christian. Besides, he teases, we need until Christmas. I gasp in shock. That's a doctor's joke, Anastasia. I flush, embarrassed, and then feel slightly resentful. He's making a joke at Christian's expense. You've just confirmed what I've been saying to Christian, that you're an expensive charlatan. I admonish him. Dr. Flynn snorts with laughter. You could be on to something there. You're British? Yes, originally from London. How did you find yourself here? Happy circumstance. You don't give much away, do you? There's not much to give away. I'm really a very dull person. That's very self-deprecating. It's a British trait. Part of our national character. Oh, and I could accuse you of the same, Anastasia. That I'm a dull person too, Dr. Flynn? He snorts. No, Anastasia, that you don't give much away. There's not much to give away. I smile. I sincerely doubt that. He unexpectedly frowns. It's been a pleasure to meet you, Anastasia. He gives me his warm smile again, and I feel that I've passed some kind of hidden test. John. Christian nods at him. Christian. Dr. Flynn returns his nod, turns on his heel, and disappears through the crowd. Christian pulls me into his arms for the next dance. He's much younger than I expected, I murmur to him, and terribly indiscreet. Christian cocks his head to one side. Indiscreet. Oh yes, he told me everything, I tease. Christian tenses. Well, in that case, I'll get your bag. I'm sure you want nothing more to do with me, he says softly. I stop. He didn't tell me anything. My voice fills with panic. Christian blinks before relief floods his face. He pulls me into his arms again. Then, let's enjoy this dance. He beams down at me, reassuring me, and then spins me around. Why would he think that I'd want to leave? It makes no sense. We dance for 2 more numbers, and I realize I need the restroom. I won't be long. As I make my way to the powder room, I remember I have left my purse on the dinner table, so I head down to the tent. When I enter, it's still lit but quite deserted, except for a couple at the other end who really ought to get a room. I reach for my bag. Anastasia. A soft voice startles me, and I turn to see a woman dressed in a long, tight, black velvet gown. A mask is used. It covers her face to her nose, but also covers her hair. It's stunning, with elaborate gold filigree. I'm so glad you're on your own, she says softly. I've been wanting to talk to you all evening. I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. She pulls the mask from her face and releases her hair. Shit! It's Mrs. Robinson. I'm sorry I startled you. I gape at her. Holy cow! What the fuck does this woman want? I don't know what the social conventions are for meeting known molesters of children. She's smiling sweetly and gesturing for me to sit at the table. And because I am lacking any sphere of reference, I do as she asks out of stunned politeness, grateful that I am still wearing my mask. I'll be brief, Anastasia. I know what you think of me. Christians told me. I gaze at her impassively, giving nothing away, but I'm pleased that she knows. It saves me telling her, and she's cutting to the chase. Part of me is beyond intrigued as to what she may have to say. She pauses, glancing over my shoulder. Taylor's watching us. I peek around to see him scanning the tent by the doorway. Sawyer is with him. They are looking anywhere but at us. Look, we don't have long, she says hurriedly. It must be obvious to you that Christian is in love with you. I have never seen him like this. Ever. She emphasizes the last word. What? Loves me? No. Why is she telling me? To reassure me? I don't understand. He won't tell you because he probably doesn't realize it himself, notwithstanding what I've said to him. But that's Christian. He's not very attuned to any positive feelings and emotions he may have. He dwells far too much on the negative. But then, you've probably worked that out for yourself. He doesn't think he's worthy. I am reeling. Christian loves me? He hasn't said it. And this woman has told him that's how he feels? How bizarre. 100 images dance through my head. The iPad, the gliding, flying to see me, all his actions, his possessiveness. $100,000 for a dance? Is this love? And hearing it from this woman, having her confirm it for me is, frankly, unwelcome. I'd rather hear it from him. My heart constricts. He feels unworthy. Why? I've never seen him so happy, and it's obvious that you have feelings for him too. A brief smile flits across her lips. That's great, and I wish you both the best of everything. But what I wanted to say is if you hurt him again, I will find you, lady, and it won't be pleasant when I do. She stares at me, ice-cold blue eyes pouring into my skull, trying to get under my mask. Her threat is so astonishing, so off the wall, that an involuntary, disbelieving giggle escapes me. Of all the things she could say to me, this is the least expected. You think this is funny, Anastasia? She splutters in dismay. You didn't see him last Saturday. My face falls and darkens. The thought of Christian unhappy is not a palatable one, and last Saturday, I left him. He must have gone to her. The idea makes me queasy. Why am I sitting here, listening to this shit from her, of all people? I slowly rise, gazing at her intently. I'm laughing at your audacity, Mrs. Lincoln.
I don't fucking.
Christian and I have nothing to do with you. And if I do leave him and you come looking for me, I'll be waiting. Don't doubt it. And maybe I'll give you a taste of your own medicine on behalf of the 15-year-old child you molested and probably fucked up even more than he already was. Her mouth falls open. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have better things to do than waste my time with you. I turn on my heel, adrenaline and anger coursing through my body, and stalk toward the entrance of the tent where Taylor is standing, just as Christian arrives, looking flustered and worried. There you are, he mutters, then frowns when he sees Elena. I stride past him, saying nothing, giving him the opportunity to choose, her or me. He makes the right choice. Anna, he calls. I stop and face him as he catches up with me. What's wrong? He gazes down at me, concern etched on his face. Why don't you ask your ex? I hiss acidly. His mouth twists and his eyes frost. I'm asking you, he says, his voice soft but with an undertone of something far more menacing. We glare at each other. Okay? I can see this will end in a fight if I don't tell him. She's threatening to come after me if I hurt you again. Probably with a whip. I snap at him. Relief flashes across his face, his mouth softening with humor. Surely the irony of that isn't lost on you, he says, and I can tell he's trying hard to stifle his amusement. This isn't funny, Christian! No, you're right. I'll talk to her. He adopts his serious face, though he's still suppressing his amusement. You will do no such thing. I cross my arms, my anger spiking again. He blinks at me, surprised by my outburst. Look, I know you're tied up with her financially. Forgive the pun, but... I stop. What am I asking him to do? Give her up? Stop seeing her? Can I do that? I need the restroom. I glare up at him, my mouth set in a grim line. He sighs and cocks his head to one side. Could he look any hotter? Is it the mask or just him? Please don't be mad. I didn't know she was here. She said she wasn't coming.
Did you get it?
His tone is placating as if he's talking to a child. Reaching up, he runs his thumb along my pouting bottom lip. Don't let Elena ruin our evening. Please, Anastasia. She's really old news.
Now what?
Old being the operative word, I think uncharitably, as he tips my chin up and gently grazes his lips against mine. I sigh in agreement, blinking up at him. He straightens and takes my elbow. I'll accompany you to the powder room so you don't get interrupted again. He leads me across the lawn toward the luxurious temporary restrooms. Mia said they had been delivered for the occasion, but I had no idea they came in deluxe versions. I'll wait here for you, baby, he murmurs. When I come out, my mood has moderated. I have decided not to let Mrs. Robinson light my evening, because that's probably what she wants. Christian is on the phone some distance away and out of earshot of the few people laughing and chatting nearby. As I get closer, I can hear him. He's very terse. Why did you change your mind? I thought we'd agreed. Well, leave her alone. This is the first regular relationship I've ever had, and I don't want you jeopardizing it through some misplaced concern for me. Leave her alone. I mean it, Elena. He pauses, listening. No, of course not. He frowns deeply as he says this. Glancing up, he sees me regarding him. I have to go. Good night. He presses the off button. I cock my head to one side and raise an eyebrow at him. Why is he phoning her? How's the old news? Cranky, he replies sardonically. Do you want to dance some more, or would you like to go? He glances at his watch. The fireworks start in 5 minutes. I love fireworks. We'll stay and watch them then. He puts his arms around me and pulls me close. Don't let her come between us, please. She cares about you, I mutter. Yes, and I her, as a friend. I think it's more than a friendship to her. His brow furrows. Anastasia, Elena and I, it's complicated. We have a shared history, but it is just that, history. As I've said to you time and time again, she's a good friend. That's all. Please, forget about her. He kisses my hair, and in the interest of not ruining our evening, I let it go. I am just trying to understand. We wander hand in hand back to the dance floor. The band is still in full swing. Anastasia? I turn to find Carrick standing behind us. I wondered if you'd do me the honor of the next dance. Carrick holds his hand out to me. Christian shrugs and smiles, releasing my hand, and I let Carrick lead me onto the dance floor. Sam, the band leader, launches into Come Fly With Me, and Carrick puts his arm around my waist and gently whirls me into the throng. I wanted to thank you for the generous contribution to our charity, Anastasia. From his tone, I suspect this is his roundabout way of asking whether I can afford it. Mr. Gray, call me Carrick, please, Anna. I'm delighted to be able to contribute. I unexpectedly came into some money. I don't need it, and it's such a worthy cause. He smiles down at me, and I seize the opportunity for some innocent inquiries. Carpe diem, my subconscious hisses from behind her hand. Christian told me a little about his past, so I think it's appropriate to support your work. I add, hoping that this might encourage Carrick to give me a small insight into the mystery that is his son. Carrick is surprised. Did he? That's unusual. You certainly have had a very positive effect on him, Anastasia. I don't think I've ever seen him so buoyant. I flush. Sorry, I didn't mean to embarrass you. Well, in my limited experience, he's a very unusual man, I murmur. He is. Carrick agrees quietly. Christian's early childhood sounds hideously traumatic from what he's told me. Carrick frowns, and I worry if I've overstepped the mark. My wife was the doctor on duty when the police brought him in. He was skin and bones, and badly dehydrated. He wouldn't speak. Carrick frowns again, lost in the awful memory, despite the uptempo music surrounding us. In fact, he didn't speak for nearly 2 years. It was playing the piano that eventually brought him out of himself. Oh, and Mia's arrival, of course. He smiles down at me fondly. He plays beautifully, and he's accomplished so much. You must be very proud of him. I sound distracted. Holy shit. Didn't speak for 2 years. Immensely so. He's a very determined, very capable, very bright young man. But between you and me, Anastasia, it's seeing him like he is this evening, carefree, acting his age. That's the real thrill for his mother and me. We were both commenting on it today. I believe we have you to thank for that. I think I blush to my roots. What am I supposed to say to this? He's always been such a loner. We never thought we'd see him with anyone. Whatever you're doing, please don't stop. We'd like to see him happy. He stops suddenly, as if he's overstepped the mark. I'm sorry. I don't mean to make you uncomfortable. I shake my head. I'd like to see him happy too, I mutter, unsure of what else to say. Well, I'm very glad you came this evening. It's been a real pleasure seeing the two of you together. As the final strains of Come Fly With Me fade away, Carrick releases me and bows, and I curtsy, mirroring his civility. That's enough dancing with old men. Christian is at my side again. Carrick laughs. Listen the old, son. I've been known to have my moments. Carrick winks at me playfully and saunters into the crowd. I think my dad likes you, Christian mutters as he watches his father mingle with the crowd. What's not to like? I think good point well made, Miss Steele. He pulls me into an embrace and the band starts to play It Had to Be You. Dance with me, he whispers seductively. With pleasure, Mr. Gray. I smile in response, and he sweeps me across the dance floor once more. At midnight, we stroll down toward the shore between the tent and the boathouse, where the other partygoers are gathered to watch the fireworks. The MC, back in charge, has permitted the removal of masks, the better to see the display. Christian has his arm around me, but I'm aware that Taylor and Sawyer are close by, probably because we're in the crowd now. They are looking anywhere but at the dockside where the two technicians dressed in black are making their final preparations. Seeing Taylor reminds me of Layla. Perhaps she's here. Shit. The thought chills my blood, and I huddle closer to Christian. He gazes at me as he pulls me closer. You okay, baby? Cold. I'm fine. I glance quickly behind us and see the other two security guys, whose names I forget, standing close by. Moving me in front of him, Christian puts both his arms around me over my shoulders. Suddenly, a stirring classical soundtrack booms over the dock, and two rockets soar into the air, exploding with a deafening bang over the bay, lighting it all in a dazzling canopy of sparkling orange and white that's reflected in a glittering shower over the still, calm water of the bay. My jaw drops as several more rockets fire into the air and explode in a kaleidoscope of color. I can't recall ever seeing a display this impressive, except perhaps on television, and it never looks this good on TV. It's all in time to the music, volley after volley, bang after bang, and light after light, as the crowd answers with gasps and oohs and ahs. It is out of this world. On the pontoon in the bay, several silver lights shoot up 20 feet in the air, changing color through blue, red, orange, and back to silver, and yet more rockets explode. No. My face is beginning to ache from the ridiculous grin of wonder plastered across it. I glance at 50, and he's the same, marveling like a child at the sensational. For the finale, a volley of 6 rockets shoot into the dark and explode simultaneously, bathing us in a glorious golden light as the crowd erupts into frantic, enthusiastic applause. Ladies and gentlemen, the MC calls out as the cheers and whistles fade. Just one note to add at the end of this wonderful evening. Your generosity has raised a total of $1,853,000. Spontaneous applause erupts again, and out on the pontoon, a message lights up in silver streams of sparks, forming the words, "Thank you from Coping Together," sparkling and shimmering over the water. Oh, Christian, that was wonderful. I grin up at him and he bends down to kiss me.
Gosh.
Time to go, he murmurs, a broad smile on his beautiful face, and his words hold so much promise. Suddenly, I feel very tired. He glances up again, and Taylor is close, the crowd dispersing around us. They don't speak, but something passes between them. Stay with me a moment, Taylor wants us to wait while the
Comments.
crowd disperses. Oh, I think that fireworks display
Comments,
probably aged him
goddammit,
100 years,
motherfuckers.
he adds. Doesn't he like fireworks? Christian gazes down at me fondly and shakes his head, but doesn't elaborate. So, Aspen, he says, and I know he's trying to distract me from something. It works. Oh, I haven't paid for my bid, I gasp. You can send a check. I have the address. You were really mad. Yes, I was. I grin. I blame
Are you done?
and your toys. You were
Oh,
polite
geez.
to overcome the steal. A most satisfactory outcome, if I recall.
Pause.
He smiles salaciously. Incidentally, where are they? The silver balls? In my innocent hands. Worried I might be quite overcome again? Maybe with somebody else? His eyes glitter dangerously. I hope that's not going to happen, he says, a cool edge to his voice. But no, Anna, I want all your pleasure. Oh, don't you trust me? Implicitly. Now, can I have them back? I'll think about it. He narrows his eyes at me. There's music once more from the dance floor, but it's the DJ playing a thumping dance number, the bass pounding out a relentless beat. Do you want to dance? I'm really tired, Christian. I'd like to go, if that's okay. Christian glances at Taylor, who nods, and we set off toward the house, following a couple of drunken guests. I'm grateful when Christian takes my hand. My feet are aching from the dizzying height and tight confinement of my shoes. Mia comes bounding up to us. You're not going, are you? The real music's just beginning. Come on, Anna. She grabs my hand. Mia, Christian admonishes her. Anastasia's tired. We're going home. Besides, we have a big day tomorrow. We do. Mia pouts, but surprisingly doesn't push Christian. You must come by sometime next week. Maybe we can hit the mall?
You could close this.
Sure, Mia. I grin, though in the back of my mind I'm wondering how, since I have to work for a living.
You don't offer.
She gives me a quick kiss, then hugs Christian fiercely, taking us both by surprise. More astoundingly still, she places her hands directly on the lapels of his jacket, and he just gazes down at her indulgently. I like seeing you this happy, she says sweetly, and kisses him on the cheek. Bye. You guys have fun. She skips off toward her waiting friends, among them Lily, who looks even more sour-faced without her mask. I wonder idly where Sean is. We'll say goodnight to my parents before we leave. Come. Christian leads me through a gaggle of guests to Grace and Carrick, who wish us fond and warm farewells. Please do come again, Anastasia. It's been lovely having you here, says Grace kindly. I am a little overwhelmed by both her and Carrick's reaction. Fortunately, Grace's parents have retired for the evening, so at least I am spared their enthusiasm. In a relaxed, weary silence, Christian and I walk hand in hand to the front of the house, where countless cars are lined up waiting to collect guests. I glance up at 50. He looks happy. It's a real pleasure to see him this way, though I suspect it's unusual after such an extraordinary day. Are you warm enough? He asked. Yes, thank you. I clasped my satin wrap. I really enjoyed this evening, Anastasia. Thank you. Me too. Some parts more than others. I grin. He grins and nods, then his brow creases. Don't bite me. He warns in a way that makes my blood sing. What did you mean about a big day tomorrow? I ask to distract myself. Dr. Green is coming to sort you out. Plus, I have a surprise for you. Dr. Green? I halt. Yes. Why? Because I hate condoms. says quietly. His eyes glint in the soft light from the paper lanterns, gauging my reaction. It's my body, I mutter, annoyed that he hasn't asked me. It's mine too, he whispers. I gaze up at him as various guests pass by, ignoring us. He looks so earnest. Yes, my body is his. He knows it better than I do. I reach up and he flinches ever so slightly but stays still. Grasping the corner of his bow tie, I pull it so it unravels, revealing the top button of his shirt. Gently, I undo it. You look hot like this. Come. At the car, Sawyer hands Christian an envelope. He frowns at it and glances at me as Taylor ushers me into the car. Taylor looks reason. Christian climbs in and hands me the envelope, unopened, as Taylor and Sawyer take their seats in the front. It's addressed to you. One of the staff gave it to Sawyer, no doubt from yet another scared heart. Christian's mouth twists. It's obvious this is an unpleasant concept to him. I stare at the note. Who is this from? Ripping it open, I read it quickly in the dim light. Holy shit. It's from her. Why won't you leave me alone? I may have misjudged you, and you have definitely misjudged me. Call me if you need to fill in any of the blanks. We could have lunch. Christian doesn't want me talking to you, but I would be more than happy to help. Don't get me wrong, I approve. But so help me. Hurt enough. Hurt enough. Call me 206-279-6261. Mrs. Robinson.
Are you done?
Fuck. You signed it, Mrs. Robinson?
You got YouTube?
Bastard. You told her? Told him? What? That I call her Mrs. Robinson. I snap. It's from Eleanor? Christian is shocked. This is ridiculous. He grumbles, running a hand through his hair.
Goddamn
I can
shit.
tell he's irritated. I'll be with her tomorrow. Or Monday.
Yeah. There you go.
Mutters bitterly.
Yeah?
Though I'm ashamed to admit
Remember when it was like,
a very small part of me is pleased. My subconscious nods sagely. Elena is pissing him off. And this can only be good, surely. I decide to say nothing for now, but stash her note in my bag. And in a gesture guaranteed to lighten his mood, I hand him balls.
What's that?
Until next time.
How about ViralRabbi? How about Shabbat?
He glances at me, and it's hard to see his face in the dark, but I think he's smirking. He reaches for my hand and squeezes it. I gaze out of the window into the darkness, reflecting on this long day. I've learned so much about him, gleaned many missing details, the salons, the roadmap, his childhood, but there's still much more to discover. And what about Mrs.
I said
R?
hi.
Yes, she cares for him, and deeply. I can see that. And he cares for
We
her,
think of those
but
dear people
not
who
in the
promised
same
us
way.
life eternal during this
I don't
period
know
of shame,
what
the
Bullshit.
30-day mourning period.
All
We
this
think of Harriet
information
Arnold,
is making my head hurt.
Millicent Benfield, Gerald Gilbert, Shirley Grant,
Christian wakes me just
Jerry
as we pull
Kramer,
up outside
Sheldon
Estella.
Salzberg,
Do I need
Michael
to carry
Schumann.
it? He
In
asks
addition to those
gently.
names, so too do we
I
think
shake
of
my
those who
head
passed into
sleepily.
life eternal.
No way.
Bullshit.
This
As
spot
we
marks
stand in
their
the
yardstick.
elevator,
I will
I lean
hide.
against
As we
him,
move
putting my
into
head
this
against his
new
shoulder.
season, we
Sawyer
always
stands
do
in
so
front of
feeling
us,
as though we're
shaking
walking in their
uncomfortably.
footsteps. We think of Abraham Matinsky, Sheldon Morton Barnett,
I nod.
Harold Biller,
Tired. I nod.
Look at
You're
her.
not very talkative. I nod. He takes my hand as we exit
Double
the
04.
elevator, but we stop in the foyer when Sawyer holds up his hand. In that split second, I am instantly wide awake. Sawyer talks into his sleeve. I had no idea that he was wearing a radio.
My friend Yosh is like, are you done? Really?
He says and turns to face us.
I'm able to access.
The tires on Miss Steele's Audi have been slashed
What
and
did they
paint
do?
thrown all over it. Holy shit! My car!
bike is like a treat. The bike is treat to it.
And I know the answer
Right?
as soon as the question materializes in my mind.
And Shapiro.
Layla.
Dude,
I
oh man,
glance
I'm
up
so
at
sorry,
Christian,
dude. I didn't
and he
know.
blanches.
I thought it would be a bigger deal.
Taylor is concerned that the perp may have entered the apartment and may still be there. He wants to make sure. I see. Christian whispers. What's Taylor's
Is
plan?
it called ViralRabbi?
He's coming up in the service elevator with Ryan and Reynolds. They'll do sweet. They give us the all clear. I'm to wait with you, sir. Thank you, Sawyer. Christian tightens his arm around me.
ViralRabbi.
He sighs,
Hashtag ViralRabbi.
nuzzling my hair. Listen, I can't stand here and wait. Sawyer, take care of Miss Steele. Don't let her in until you have the all clear. I am sure Taylor is overreacting. She can't get into the apartment. What? No, Christian, you have to stay with me. I plead. Christian releases me. Do as you're told, Anastasia. Wait here. No. Sawyer, Christian says.
Hey, dog.
Sawyer opens the foyer door to let Christian enter the apartment, then shuts the door behind him and stands in front of it, staring impassively down at me. Holy shit! Christian! All manner of horrific outcomes run through my mind, but all I can do is stand.
Are you done? I say hi. You say hi?
Chapter 8. Sawyer talks into his sleeve again. Taylor, Mr. Gray has entered the apartment. He flinches and grabs the earpiece, pulling it out of his ear, presumably receiving some powerful invective from Taylor. Oh no, if Taylor is worried. Please, let me go in.
Only that much.
Sorry, Miss Steele. This won't take long. Sawyer holds both hands up in a defensive gesture. Taylor and the guys are... I listen avidly for the slightest sound, but all I hear is my aggravated breathing. It's loud and shallow. My scalp prickles. My mouth is dry, and I feel faint. Please, let Christian be okay, I pray silently. I have no idea how much time passes, and still hear nothing. Surely no sound is good. There are no gunshots. I begin pacing around the table in the foyer and examine the paintings on the walls to distract myself. I've never really looked at them before. All figurative paintings, all religious. The Madonna and Child, all 16 of them. How odd. Christian isn't religious, is he?
Were they?
All of the paintings in the great room are abstracts. These are so different.
Do you have everyone with
They
music?
don't distract me for long. Where is Christian? I stare at Sawyer and he watches me impassively. What's happening? No news, Miss Steele. Abruptly, the doorknob moves. Sawyer spins like a top and draws a gun from his shoulder holster. I freeze. Christian appears at the door. All clear, he says, frowning at Sawyer, who puts his gun away immediately and steps back to let me in. Christian grumbles as he holds out his hand to me. I stand gaping at him, unable to move, drinking in every detail. His unruly hair, the tightness around his eyes, the tense jaw, the top 2 buttons of his shirt undone. I think I must have aged 10 years. Christian frowns at me in concern, his eyes dark. It's all right, baby. He moves toward me, enveloping me in his arms and kisses my hair. Come on, you're tired. Bed.
14 watching that, huh?
I was so worried, I murmur, rejoicing in his embrace and inhaling his sweet, sweet scent with my head against his chest. I know. We're all jumpy. Sawyer has disappeared, presumably into the apartment. Honestly, your exes are proving to be very challenging, Mr. Gray. I mutter wryly. Christian relaxes. Yes, they are. He releases me and, taking my hand, leads me across the hallway and into the great room. Taylor and his crew are checking all the closets and cupboards. I don't think she's here. Why would she be here? It makes no sense. Exactly. Could she get in? I don't see how. But Taylor is overcautious sometimes. Have you searched her living room? I whisper. Christian glances quickly at me, his brow creasing. Yes, it's locked, but Taylor and I checked. I take a deep, cleansing breath. Do you want a drink or anything? Christian asks. No. Fatigue sweeps through me. I just want to go to bed. Come. Let me put you to bed. You look exhausted. Christian's expression softens. I frown. Isn't he coming too? Does he want to sleep alone? I'm relieved when he leads me into his bedroom. I place my clutch bag on the chest of drawers and open it to empty the contents. I spy Mrs. Robinson's note. Here, I pass it to Christian. I don't know if you want to read this. I want to ignore it. Christian scans it briefly and his jaw tenses. I'm not, he says dismissively. I need to talk to Taylor. He gazes down at me.
You gotta find
Let me
somebody.
unzip your dress. Are you going to call the police about the car? I ask as I turn around.
These guys are really nice. Really,
He
yeah.
sweeps my
I need some
hair out of the
fuckers.
way, his finger softly grazing my naked back, and
Who the
tugs
fuck
down my
is
zipper.
you?
No, I don't want the police involved. Layla
They're
needs
like,
help,
oh,
not
everybody come
police
in.
intervention.
Oh, everybody's got apartments on
We
Sunday.
just have to double our
Really?
efforts to find her. He leans down and plants a gentle kiss on my
Are
shoulder.
you done?
Go to bed, he orders, and then he's gone. I lie, staring at the ceiling, waiting for him to return. So much has happened today. So much to process. Where to start? I wake with a jolt, disoriented. Have I been asleep? Blinking in the dim glow the hallway casts through the slightly open bedroom door, I notice that Christian is not with me. Where is he? I glance up. Standing at the end of the bed is a shadow. A woman, maybe? Dressed in black? It's difficult to tell. In my befuddled state, I reach across and switch on the bedside light, then turn back to look, but there's no one there. I shake my head. Did I imagine it? Dream it? I sit up and look around the room. A vague, insidious unease gripping me, but I am quite alone. I rub my face. What time is it? Where's Christian? The alarm clock shows it's 2:15 in the morning. Climbing groggily out of bed, I set off to hunt him down, disconcerted by my overactive imagination. I am seeing things now.
Gotcha,
It
bitch.
must be a reaction to the dramatic
Really?
events of the
Oh, I
evening.
know.
The
No
main room
competition.
is empty. The only light
No
emanating
fucking
from the three
competition.
pendulum lamps above are, and I hear him on the
Bye,
phone.
everybody.
I don't know why you're calling at this hour. I have nothing to say to you. Well, you can tell me now. You don't have to leave a message. I stand motionless
now
by
I
the
know.
door, eavesdropping guiltily. Who is he talking to? No, you listen.
What
I
the
asked
fuck is
you,
this shit?
and now I'm telling you. Leave her alone. She has nothing to do with you. Do you understand? He sounds belligerent and angry. I hesitate to nod. I know you do, but I mean it, Elena. Leave her the fuck alone. Do I need to put it in triplicate for you? Are you hearing me? Good. Good night. He slams the phone down on the desk. Oh, shit. I knock tentatively on the door. What? He snarls, and I almost want to run and hide. He sits at his desk with his head in his hands. He glances up, his expression ferocious, but his face softens immediately when he sees me. His eyes are wide and cautious. Suddenly, he looks so tired, and my heart constricts. He blinks, and his eyes sweep down my legs and back again. I am wearing one of his t-shirts. You should
Did
be
you do it
satin
on him?
or silk, Anastasia. He breathes. But even in my t-shirt. Come to bed. He rises slowly out of the chair, still in his white shirt and black dress pants. But now, his eyes are shining and full of promise. But there's a trace of sadness, too. He stands in front of me, staring intently, but not touching me.
You're
You know what you mean to me, he murmurs. If something happened to you because of me. His voice trails off, his brow creasing, and the pain that flashes across his face is almost palpable. He looks so vulnerable, his fear very much apparent.
Which one?
Nothing's going to happen to me, I reassure him, my voice soothing. I reach up and stroke his face, running my fingers through the stubble on his cheek. It's unexpectedly soft. Your beard moves quickly, I whisper, unable to hide the wonder in my voice at this beautiful, pucked up man who stands before me. I trace the line of his bottom lip and trail my fingers down his throat to the faint smudge of lipstick at the base of his neck. He gazes down at me, still not touching me, his lips parted. I run my index finger along the line, and he closes his eyes. His soft
Really?
breathing
Oh my
quickens.
god.
My fingers reach the
Jesus
edge of his
Christ.
shirt, and I run them down to the next fastened button.
Oh, they've
I'm
got a
not
fucking
going to touch you. I
moderator.
just want to undo your shirt, I
The
whisper.
man moderator.
His eyes open wide, regarding me with alarm, but he doesn't move, and he doesn't stop me.
What's this?
Very slowly, I unfasten the button, holding the material away from his skin, and move tentatively down to the next button,
Oh my god.
repeating the process, slowly,
Oh my god.
concentrating on what I am doing. I don't want to touch him. Well, I do, but I won't. On the fourth button, the red line reappears, and I smile shyly up at him. Back on home territory,
Fuck.
I trace the line with my fingers before undoing the final button. I pull his shirt open and move to his cuffs, removing his black polished stone cufflinks one at a time.
Kids.
Can I take your
This
shirt
family right
off?
here is fuck.
I ask,
Really?
my voice low. He nods, eyes still wide, as I reach up and pull his shirt over his shoulders.
Unless they're gonna
He
be
frees his hands so he's standing in front of me naked, from the waist up. With his shirt off, he seems to recover his equilibrium. He smirks down at me. What about my pants, Miss Steele? He asks, raising an eyebrow. In the bedroom. I want you in your bed. Do you now, Miss Steele? You are insatiable. I can't think why. I grab his hand, pull him from his study, and lead him to his bedroom. The room is chilly. You opened the balcony door? He asks, frowning down at me as we arrive in his room. No, I don't remember doing that. I recall scanning the room when I woke. The door was definitely closed.
Come on, you little bastard.
Oh shit. All the blood rushes from my face, and I stare at Christian as my mouth falls open. What? He snaps, glaring at me. When I woke, there was someone in here, I whisper. I thought it was my imagination. What? He looks horrified and dashes to the balcony door, peers out, then steps back into the room and locks the door behind him. Are you sure? Who? He asks, his voice tight. A woman, I think. It was dark. I'd only just woken up. Get dressed. He snarls at me on his way back in. Now. My clothes are upstairs, I whimper. He pulls open one of the drawers in his chest of drawers and fishes out a pair of sweatpants. Put these on. They are far too big, but he is not to be argued with. He swipes a t-shirt too, and quickly pulls it over his head. Grabbing the bedside phone, he presses 2 buttons. She's still fucking here. He hisses down the phone. Approximately 3 seconds later, Taylor and one of the other security guys burst into Christian's bedroom. Christian gives them the précis of what has happened. How long ago? Taylor demands, staring at me all businesslike. He's still wearing his jacket. Does this man ever sleep? About 10 minutes, I mutter, for some reason feeling guilty. She knows the apartment like the back of her hand, says Christian. I'm taking Anastasia away now. She's hiding here somewhere. Find her. When is Gail back? Tomorrow evening, sir. She's not to return until this place is secure. Understand? Christian snaps. Yes, sir. Will you be going to Bellevue? I'm not leaving this problem to my parents. Book me somewhere. Yes, I'll call you. Aren't we all overreacting slightly? I ask. Christian glowers at me. She may have a gun, he growls. Christian, she was standing at the end of the bed. She could have shot me then if that's what she wanted to do. Christian pauses for a moment to rein in his temper, I think. In a menacingly soft voice, he says, I'm not prepared to take the risk. Taylor, Anastasia needs shoes. Christian disappears into his closet while the security guy watches me. I can't remember his name. Ryan, maybe. He looks alternately down the hall into the balcony windows. Christian emerges a couple of minutes later with a leather messenger bag, wearing jeans and his pinstriped blazer. He drapes a denim jacket around my shoulders. Come. He clasps my hand tightly, and I have to practically run to keep up with his long strides into the great room. I can't believe she could hide somewhere in here, I mutter, staring out the balcony doors. It's a big place. You haven't seen it all yet. Why don't you just call her? Tell her you want to talk to her. Anastasia, she's unstable and she may be armed, he says irritably. So we just run? For now, he says with distaste. He'll be quicker with a gun than she is. Ray was in the army. He taught me to shoot.
What's this one?
Christian raises his eyebrows and for a moment looks utterly bemused. You, with a gun? He says incredulously. Yes, I am affronted. I can shoot, Mr. Gray, so you'd better beware. It's not just crazy ex-subs you need to worry about. I'll bear that in mind, Miss Steele. He answers dryly, amused. And it feels good to know that even in this ridiculously tense situation, I can make him smile. Taylor meets us in the foyer and hands me my small suitcase and my black Converse sneakers. I am stunned that he's packed me some clothes. I smile shyly at him with gratitude, and his returning smile is swift and reassuring. Before I can stop myself, I hug him hard. He is taken by surprise, and when I release him, he is pink in both cheeks. Be careful, I murmur. Yes, Miss Steele, he mutters, embarrassed. Christian frowns at me and then looks questioningly at Taylor, who smiles very slightly and adjusts his tie. Let me know where I'm going, Christian says. Taylor reaches into his jacket, pulls out his wallet, and hands Christian a credit card. You might want to use this when you get there. Christian nods. Good thinking. Ryan joins us. Sawyer and Reynolds found nothing, he says to Taylor. Accompany Mr. Gray and Miss Steele to the garage, Taylor orders. The garage is deserted. Well, it is nearly 3 in the morning. Christian ushers me into the passenger seat of the R8 and puts my case and his bag in the trunk at the front of the car. The Audi beside us is a complete mess. Every tire slashed, white paint splattered all over it. It's chilling and makes me grateful that Christian is taking me somewhere else. A replacement will arrive on Monday, Christian says bleakly when he's seated beside me. How could she have known it was my car? He glances anxiously at me and sighs. She had an Audi A3. I'd buy one for all my submissives. It's the safest cars in its class. Oh. So, not so much a graduation present then. Anastasia, despite what I hoped, you have never been my submissive, so technically it is a graduation present. He pulls out of the parking space and speeds to the exit. Despite what he hoped. Oh no. My subconscious shakes her head sadly. This is what we come back to all the time. Are you still hoping? I whisper. The in-car phone buzzes. Ray, Christian snaps. Fairmont Olympic, in my name. Thank you, Taylor. And, Taylor, be careful. Taylor pauses. Yes, sir, he says quietly, and Christian hangs up. The streets of Seattle are deserted, and Christian roars up Fifth Avenue toward I-5. Once on the interstate, he floors the gas pedal, heading north. He accelerates so quickly, I'm momentarily thrown back in my seat. I peek at him. He is deep in thought, radiating a deadly, brooding silence. He hasn't answered my question. He glances frequently at the rearview mirror, and I realize he's checking that we're not being followed. Perhaps that's why we're on I-5. I thought the Fairmont was in Seattle. Window, trying to rationalize my exhausted, overactive mind. If she wanted to hurt me, she had ample opportunity in the bedroom. No, it's not what I hoped for. Not anymore. I thought that was obvious. Christian interrupts my introspection, his voice soft. I blink at him, pulling his denim jacket tighter around me, and I don't know if the chill is emanating from within me or from outside. I worry that, that I'm not enough. You're more than enough. For the love of God, Anastasia, what do I have to do? Tell me about yourself. Tell me you love me. Why did you think I'd leave when I told you Dr. T? And for the longest time, he doesn't answer. You cannot begin to understand the depths of my depravity, Anastasia. And it's not something I want to share with you.
You are so disciplined. You're trying to
And you really think I'd leave if I knew? My voice is high, incredulous.
At that moment in time,
Doesn't he
you are.
understand that I love him? Do you think so little of me? I know you believe, he says sadly. Christian, I think that's very unlikely. I can't imagine being without you. Ever. You left me once. I don't want to go there again. Elena said she saw you last Saturday. I whisper quietly. She didn't. He frowns. You didn't go see her when I left? No. He snaps, irritated. I just told you I didn't. And I don't like to be doubted. He scolds. I didn't go anywhere last weekend. I sat and made the glider you gave me. Took me forever. He adds quietly. My heart clenches again. Mrs. Robinson said she saw him. Did she or didn't she? She's lying. Why? Contrary to what Elena thinks, I don't rush to her with all my problems, Anastasia. I don't rush to anybody. You may have noticed, I'm not much of a talker. He tightens his hold on the steering wheel. Eric told me you didn't talk for 2 years. Did he now? Christian's mouth presses into a hard line. I kind of pumped him for information. Embarrassed, I stare at my fingers. So, what else did Daddy say? He said your mom was a doctor who examined you when you were brought into the hospital, after you were discovered in your apartment. Christian's expression remains blank, careful. He said learning piano helped, and Mia. His lips curl in a fond smile at the mention of her name. After a moment, he says, she was about 6 months old when she arrived. I was thrilled. Elliot less so. He'd already had to contend with my arrival. She was perfect. The sweet, sad awe in his voice is affecting. Less so now, of course, he mutters, and I recall her successful attempts at the ball to thwart our lascivious intentions. It makes me giggle. Christian gives me a sideways glance. You find that amusing, Miss Steele? She seemed determined to keep us apart. He laughs mirthlessly. Yes, she's quite accomplished.
Are you done?
He reaches across and squeezes my knee. but we got there in the end.
Are you done?
He smiles, then glances in the rearview mirror once more. I don't think we've been followed.
Fuck.
He turns off I-5 and heads back to central Seattle. Can I ask you something about Elena?
What is this?
We are stopped at some traffic lights. He gazes at me warily. If you must, he mutters sullenly. But I don't let his irritability deter me. You told me ages ago that she loved you in a way you found acceptable. What did that mean?
I would say
Isn't it obvious? He asks. No, I couldn't bear to be touched. I can't bear it. For a 14, 15-year-old adolescent boy with hormones raging, it was a difficult time. She showed me a way to let off steam. Oh. Mia said you were a brawler. Christ, what is it with my loquacious family? Actually, it's you. We've stopped at more lights, and he narrows his eyes at me.
Are you done?
You inveigle information
Are
out
you
of
done? My
people.
question would be this. Are you
He
done?
shakes his head in mock disgust.
No, I can tell it.
Mia volunteered
Are
that
you done?
information.
Oh, okay, hold on.
In fact, she was very forthcoming. She was worried you'd start a brawl in the tent if you didn't win me at the auction. I mutter indignantly. Oh, baby, there was no danger of that. There was no way I would let anyone else dance with you. You let Dr. Flynn. He's always the exception to the rule. Christian pulls into the impressive, leafy driveway of the Fairmont Olympic Hotel and parks near the front door, beside a quaint stone fountain. Come. He climbs out of the car and retrieves our luggage. A valet rushes toward us, looking surprised, no doubt at our late arrival. Christian tosses him the car keys. Tame his glee as he leaps into the and strides into the lobby. As I stand beside him at the reception desk, I feel utterly ridiculous. Here I am, in Seattle's most prestigious hotel, dressed in an oversized denim jacket, oversized sweatpants, and an old t-shirt, next to this elegant Greek god. No wonder the receptionist is looking from one to the other as if the equation doesn't add up. Of course, she's overawed by Christian. I roll my eyes as she flushes crimson and stutters. Even her hands are shaking. Do you need a hand with your packs, Mr. Taylor? She asks, going scarlet again. No, Mrs. Taylor and I can manage. Mrs. Taylor? But I'm not wearing a ring. I put my hands behind my back. You're in the Cascade Suite, Mr. Taylor. 11th floor. Our bellboy will help you with your bags. We're fine, Christian says curtly. Where are the elevators? Miss Flushing Crimson explains, and Christian grasps my hand once more. I glance briefly around the impressive, sumptuous lobby, full of overstuffed chairs, deserted save for a dark-haired woman sitting on a cozy sofa, feeding tidbits to her Westie. She glances up and smiles at us as we make our way to the elevators. So the hotel allows pets? Odd for a place so grand. The suite has 2 bedrooms, a formal dining room, and comes complete with a grand piano. A log fire blazes in the massive main room. This suite is bigger than my apartment. Well, Mrs. Taylor, I don't know about you, but I really like a drink. Christian mutters, locking the front door securely. In the bedroom, he puts my case and his satchel on the ottoman at the foot of the king-sized 4-poster bed and leads me into the main room where the fire is burning brightly. It's a welcome sight. I stand and warm my hands while Christian fixes us both a drink. Armagnac? Please. After a moment, he joins the fire and hands me a crystal brandy glass. It's been quite a day, huh? I nod and his gaze is searching, concerned. I'm okay, I whisper reassuringly. How about you? Well, right now I'd like to drink this, and then, if you're not too tired, take you to bed and lose myself in you. I think that can be arranged, Mr. Taylor. I smile shyly at him as he shuffles out of his shoes and peels off his socks. Mrs. Taylor, stop biting your lip, he whispers. I blush into my glass. The Armagnac is delicious, leaving a burning warmth in its wake as it glides silkily down my throat. When I glance up at Christian, he's sipping his brandy, watching me, his eyes dark, hungry. You never cease to amaze me, Anastasia. After a day like today, or yesterday rather, you're not whining or running off into the hills screaming. I am in awe of you. You are very strong. You're a very good reason to stay, I murmur. I told you, Christian, I'm not going anywhere, no matter what you've done. You know how I feel about you. His mouth twists as if he doubts my words, and his brow creases as if what beat you, my subconscious sneers. I scowl inwardly at her. Where are you going to hang Jose's portraits of me? I try to lighten the mood. That depends. His lips twitch. This is obviously a much more palatable topic of conversation for him. On what? Circumstances, he says mysteriously. His show's not over yet, so I don't have to decide straight away. I cock my head to one side and narrow my eyes. You can look as sternly as you like, Mrs. Taylor. I'm saying nothing. He teases. I may torture the truth from you. He raises an eyebrow. Really, Anastasia? I don't think you should make promises you can't fulfill. Oh my, is that what he thinks? I place my glass on the mantelpiece, reach over, and much to Christian's surprise, take his glass and place it beside mine. We'll just have to see about that, I murmur, very bravely, emboldened by the brandy, no doubt. I take Christian's hand and pull him toward the bedroom. At the foot of the bed, I stop. Christian is trying to hide his amusement. Now that you have me in here, Anastasia, he teases, his voice low. I'm going to start by undressing you. I want to finish what I started earlier. I reach for the lapels on his jacket, careful not to touch him, and he doesn't flinch, but he's holding his breath. Gently, I push his jacket over his shoulders, and his eyes stay on mine. All traces of humor gone, as they grow larger, burning into me, wary and hateful. There are so many interpretations of his look. What is he thinking? I place his jacket on the ottoman. Now your t-shirt, I whisper, and lift it by the hem. He cooperates, raising his arms and backing away, making it easier for me to pull it over his head. Once off, he gazes down at me, intently, wearing just his jeans that hang so provocatively from his hips. The band of his boxer briefs is visible. My eyes move hungrily up across his taut stomach to the remains of the lipstick line, faded and smudged, then up to his chest. I want nothing more than to run my tongue through his chest hair to savor his taste. Now what? He whispers, eyes blazing. I want to kiss you here. I run my finger from hip bone to hip bone across his belly. His lips part as he inhales sharply. I'm not stopping you, he breathes. I take his hand. You'd better lie down then, I murmur, and lead him to the side of the four-poster bed. He seems bewildered, and it occurs to me that perhaps no one has taken the lead with him since her. No, don't go there. Lifting the covers, he sits on the edge of the bed, gazing up at me, waiting, his expression wary and serious. I stand before him and slip off his denim jacket and let it drop to the floor. Then I shuffle out of his sweatpants. He rubs his thumb over the tips of his fingers. He's itching to touch me, I can tell, but he suppresses the urge. Taking a deep breath and, beyond courageous, I reach for the hem of my t-shirt and lift it over my head, so I am naked before him. His eyes don't leave mine, but he swallows, and his lips part. You You are Aphrodite, Anastasia, he murmurs. I clasp his face in my hands, tip his head up, and bend to kiss him. He groans low in his throat. As I place my mouth on his, he grabs my hips, and before I know it, I am pinned beneath him, his legs forcing mine apart so that he's cradled against my body between my legs. He's kissing me, ravaging my mouth, our tongues entwined. His hand trails from my thigh, over my hip, along my belly to my breast, squeezing, kneading, and pulling enticingly on my nipple. I groan and tilt my pelvis involuntarily against him, finding a delicious friction against the seam of his fly and his growing erection. He stops kissing me and gazes down at me, bemused and breathless. He flexes his hips so his erection pushes against me. Yes, right there. I close my eyes and moan, and he does it again. But this time I push back, relishing his answering moan as he kisses me again. He continues the slow, delicious torture, rubbing me, rubbing him. And he's right. Getting lost in him, it's intoxicating to the exclusion of everything else. All my worries are obliterated. I am here in this moment with him. My blood singing in my veins, throbbing loudly through my ears, mixed with the sound of our panting breaths. I bury my hands in his hair, holding him to my mouth, consuming him, my tongue as avaricious as his. I trail my fingers down his arms, down his lower back to the waistband of his jeans, and push my intrepid, greedy hands inside, urging him on and on, forgetting everything except us. You're going to unman me, Anna, he whispers suddenly, breaking away from me and kneeling up. He briskly pulls down his jeans and hands me a foil packet. You want me, baby, and I sure as hell want you. You know what to do. With anxious, dexterous fingers, I rip open the foil and unroll the condom over him. He grins down at me, his mouth open, eyes misty gray and full of carnal promise. Leaning over me, he rubs his nose against mine. His eyes close, and deliciously, slowly, he enters me. I grasp his arms and tilt my chin up, reveling in the exquisitely full feeling of his possession. He runs his teeth along my chin, eases back, and then slides into me again. So slow, so sweet, so tender. His body pressing down on me, his elbows and his hands on either side of my face. You make me forget everything. You, the best therapy. He breathes, moving at an achingly leisurely pace, savoring every inch of me. Please, Christian, faster, I murmur, wanting more now. Oh no, baby, I need this slow. He kisses me sweetly, gently, biting my lower lip and absorbing my soft moans. I move my hands into his hair and surrender myself to his rhythm as slowly and surely my body climbs higher and higher and oh, Anna. He breathes as he lets go, my name a benediction on his lips as he finds his release. My fingers forage in his unruly hair, and we lie like this for I don't know how long. It's so late, and I'm so tired, but I just want to enjoy the quiet. That's what we've done. Gentle, sweet lovemaking. He's come a long way, as have I, in such a short time. It's almost too much to absorb. With all the fucked up stuff, I am losing sight of his simple, honest journey with me. I will never get enough of you. Don't leave me, he murmurs and kisses my belly. I'm not going anywhere, Christian, and I seem to remember that I wanted to kiss your belly. I grumble sleepily. He grins against my skin. Nothing's stopping you now, baby. I don't think I can move. I'm so tired. Christian sighs and shifts reluctantly, coming to lie beside me with his head on his elbow and dragging the covers over us. He gazes down at me, his eyes glowing, warm, loving. Sleep now, baby. He kisses my hair and wraps his arm around me, and I drift. When I open my eyes, light is filling the room. blink. My head is fuzzy from lack of sleep. Where am I? Oh, the hotel. Hi, Christian murmurs, smiling fondly. He's lying beside me, fully dressed, on top of the bed. How long has he been here? Has he been studying me? Suddenly, I feel incredibly shy as my face heats under his steady gaze. Hi, I murmur, grateful that I am lying on my front. How long have you been watching me? I could watch you sleep for hours, Anastasia, but I've only been here about 5 minutes. He leans over and kisses me gently. Dr. Green will be here shortly. Oh, I'd forgotten about Christian's inappropriate intervention. Did you sleep well? He inquires mildly. Certainly seemed like it to me, with all that snoring. Oh, playful teasing 50. I do not snore, I pout petulantly. No, you don't. He grins at me. The faint line of red lipstick is still visible around his neck. Did you shower? No, waiting for you. Oh, okay. What time is it? 10:15. I didn't have the heart to wake you earlier. You told me you didn't have a heart at all. He smiles sadly, but doesn't answer. Breakfast is here. Pancakes and bacon for you. Come, get up. I'm getting lonely out here. He swats me sharply on my behind, making me jump, and rises from the bed. Christian's version of warm affection. As I stretch, I'm aware I ache all over, no doubt as a result of all the sex, dancing, and teetering in expensive high-heeled shoes. I stagger out of bed and make my way into the sumptuously appointed bathroom while going over the events of the I don one of the overly fluffy bathrobes that hang on a brass peg in the bathroom. Layla, the girl who looks like me, that's the most startling image my brain conjures for conjecture. That and her eerie presence in Christian's bedroom. What did she want? Me? Christian? To do what? And why the fuck has she wrecked my car? Christian said I would have another Audi, like all his submissives. The thought is unwelcome. Since I was so generous with the money he gave me, there's not a lot I can do. I wander into the main room of the suite. No sign of Christian. I finally locate him in the dining room. I take a seat, grateful for the impressive breakfast laid before me. Christian is reading the Sunday papers and drinking coffee. His breakfast finished. He smiles at me. Eat up. You're going to need your strength today. He teases. And why is that? You're going to lock me in the bedroom? My inner goddess jerks awake suddenly, all disheveled with a just fucked look. Appealing as that idea is, I thought we'd go out today, get some fresh air. Is it safe? I ask innocently, trying and failing to keep the irony from my voice. Christian's face falls and his mouth presses in a line. Where we're going is, and it's not a joking matter, he adds sternly, narrowing his eyes. I flush and stare down at my breakfast. I don't feel like being scolded after all the drama and such a late night. I eat my breakfast in silence, feeling petulant. My subconscious is shaking her head at me. 50 doesn't joke about my safety. I should know this by now. I want to roll my eyes at him, but I refrain. Okay, I'm tired and testy. I had a long day yesterday and not enough sleep. Why, oh why, does he get to look as fresh as a daisy? Life is not fair. There's a knock at the door. Christian grumbles, obviously still smarting from my irony. He stalks from the table. Can't we just have a calm, normal morning? I sigh heavily, leaving half my breakfast, and get up to greet Dr. Depo Provera. We're in the bedroom, and Dr. Green is staring at me open-mouthed. She's dressed more casually than last time, in a pale pink cashmere twins. Blonde hair is loose. And you just stopped taking it? Just like that? I flush, feeling beyond foolish. Yes? Could my voice be any smaller? You could be pregnant, she says, matter-of-factly.
No, you'd have to do something, because even if those
The
people
world
wouldn't
falls
put
away
women
at my
on
feet. My subconscious collapses on the floor, retching. I think I'm going to be sick too. No.
Okay, we gotta
Here,
pay.
go pee in this.
Then you
She's all business
do
today,
that wherever you want.
taking no prisoners.
You don't know how.
Meekly, I accept the small plastic container she's offered and wander in a daze into the bathroom.
Maybe you would.
No, 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 no way.
Yo, dude.
No way. Please, no.
Dude,
No.
yo, dude.
What will 50 do? I go pale. No freak. No, please. I whisper a silent prayer. I hand Dr. Green my sample, and she carefully places a small white stick in it. When did your period start? How am I supposed to think about such minutia when all I can do is stare anxiously at the white stick? Wednesday? Not the one just gone, the one before that. June 1st? And when did you stop taking the pill? Sunday. Last Sunday. She purses her lips. You should be okay, she says sharply. I can tell by your expression that an unplanned pregnancy would not be welcome news. So, medroxyprogesterone is a good idea if you can't remember to take the pill every day. She gives me a stern look, and I quail under her authoritative glare. Picking up the white stick, she peers at it. You're in the clear. You've not ovulated yet, so provided you've been taking proper precautions, you shouldn't be pregnant. Now, let me counsel you about this shot. We discounted it last time because of the side effects, but quite frankly, the side effects of a child are far-reaching and go on for years. She smiles, pleased with herself and her little joke, but I can't begin to respond. I'm too stunned.
Are you done yet?
Dr. Green launches into full disclosure mode about side effects, and I sit paralyzed with relief, not listening to a word.
You done?
I think I'd tolerate any number of strange women standing at the end of my bed rather than confess to Christian that I might be pregnant. Anna, Dr. Green snaps, let's do this thing. She pulls me out of my reverie, and I willingly roll up my sleeve. Christian closes the door behind her and gazes at me warily. Everything okay? He asks. I nod mutely, and he tilts his head to one side, his face tense with concern. Anastasia, what is it? What did Dr. Green say? I shake my head. You're good to go in 7 days, I mutter. 7 days? Yes. Anna, what's wrong?
Are you done?
Swallow. It's nothing to worry about. Please, Christian, just leave it. Christian looms in front of me. He grasps my chin, tipping my head back and stares into my eyes, trying to decipher my chin out of his reach. He sighs and runs a hand through his hair, frowning at me. Let's shower, he says eventually. Of course, I mutter, distracted, and his mouth twists. Calm, he says sulkily, clasping my hand firmly. He stalks toward the bathroom as I trail behind him. I am not the only one in a bad mood, it seems. Firing up the shower, Christian quickly strips before turning to me. I don't know what's upset you, or if you're just bad-tempered through lack of sleep, he says while unfastening my robe. But I want you to tell me. My imagination is running away with me, and I don't like it. I roll my eyes at him, and he glares at me, narrowing his eyes. Shit. Okay, here goes. Dr. Green scolded me about missing the pill. She said I couldn't be pregnant. What? He pales, and his hands freeze as he gazes at me, suddenly ashen. But I'm not. She did a test. It was a shock, that's all. I can't believe I was that stupid. He visibly relaxes. You're sure you're not? Yes. He blows out a deep breath. Good. Yes, I can see that news like that would be very upsetting. I frown. Upsetting? I was more worried about your reaction. He furrows his brow at me, puzzled. My reaction? Well, naturally, I'm relieved. It would be the height of carelessness and bad manners to knock you up. Then maybe we should abstain, I hiss. He gazes at me for a moment, bewildered, as if I'm some kind of science experiment. You are in a bad temper this morning. It was just a shock, that's all, I repeat petulantly. Clasping the warm embrace, kisses my hair, and presses my head against his chest. I'm distracted by his chest hair as it tickles my cheek. Oh, if I could just nuzzle him. Anna, I'm not used to this, he murmurs. My natural inclination is to beat it out of you, but I seriously doubt you want that. Holy shit. No, I don't. This helps. I hug Christian tighter, and we stand for an age in a strange embrace, Christian naked and I wrapped in a robe. I am once again floored by his honesty. He knows nothing about relationships, and neither do I, except what I've learned from him. Well, he's asked for faith and patience. Maybe I should do the same. Come, let's shower, Christian says eventually, releasing me. Stepping back, he peels me out of my robe, and I follow him into the cascading water, holding my face up to the torrent. There's room for both of us under the gargantuan shower head. Christian reaches for the shampoo and starts washing his hair. He hands it to me, and I follow suit. Oh, this feels good. Closing my eyes, I succumb to the cleansing, warming water. As I rinse off the shampoo, I feel his hands on me. My arms, under my arms, my breasts, my back. Gently, he turns me around and pulls me against him as he continues down my body. My stomach, my belly, his skilled fingers between my legs, my behind. Oh, that feels good and so intimate. He turns me around to face him again. Here, he says quietly, handing me the body wash. I want you to wash off the remains of the lipstick. My eyes open in a flurry and dart quickly to his. He's staring at me intently, soaking wet and beautiful, his glorious bright gray eyes giving nothing away. Don't stray far from the light, please. He mutters tightly. Okay, I murmur, trying to absorb the enormity of what he's just asked me to do. To touch him on the edge of the forbidden zone. He stills and closes his eyes, his face impassive, but he's breathing rapidly, and I know it's not lust, but fear. It cuts me to the quick. With trembling fingers, I carefully follow the line down the side of his chest, soaping and rubbing softly. He swallows, with his jaw tense as if his teeth are clenched. Oh, my heart constricts and my throat tightens. Oh no, I'm going to cry. I stop to add more soap to my hand and feel him relax in front of me. I can't look up at him, bear to see his pain. It's too much. It's my turn to swallow. Ready? I murmur, and the tension is loud and clear in my voice. Yes, he whispers, his voice husky, laced with fear. Gently, I place my hands on either side of his chest, and he freezes again. It's too much. I am overwhelmed by his trust in me, overwhelmed by his fear, by the damage done to this beautiful, fallen, flawed man. Tears pool in my eyes and spill down my face, lost in the water from the shower. Oh, Christian, who did this to you? His diaphragm moves rapidly with each shallow breath. His body is rigid. tension radiating off him in waves as my hands move along the line, erasing it. Oh, if I could just erase his pain. I would. I'd do anything. And I want nothing more than to kiss every single scar I see, to kiss away those hideous years of neglect. But I know I can't, and my tears fall unbidden down my cheeks. No, please, don't cry, he murmurs, his voice anguished as he wraps me tightly in his arms. Please, don't cry for me. And I burst into full-blown sobs, burying my face against his neck, as I think of a little boy lost in a sea of fear and pain, frightened, neglected, abused, hurt beyond all endurance. Pulling away, he clasps my head with both hands, tilts it backward, and leans down to kiss me. Don't cry, please, he murmurs against my mouth. It was long ago. I'm aching for you to touch me, but I just can't bear it. It's too much. Please, please don't cry. I want to touch you too, more than you'll ever know. To see you like this, so hurt and afraid, Christian, it wounds me deeply. I love you so much. He runs his thumb across my bottom lip. I know, he whispers. You're very easy to love. Don't you see that? No, baby, I don't. You are, and I do, and so does your family. So do Alana and Layla. They have a strange way of doing it, but they do. You are worthy. Stop. He puts his finger over my lips and shakes his head, an agonized expression on his face. I can't hear this. I'm nothing, Anastasia. I'm a husk of a man. I don't have a heart. Yes, you do. And I want it. All of it. You're a good man, Christian. A really good man. Don't ever doubt that. Look at what you've done. What you've achieved. I sob. Look at what you've done for me. What you've turned your back on. For me. I whisper. I know. I know how you feel about me. He gazes down at me, his eyes wide and panicked, and all we can hear is the steady stream of water as it flows over us in the shower. You love me, I whisper. His eyes widen further, and his mouth opens. He takes a huge breath, as if winded. He looks tortured, vulnerable. Yes, he whispers. I do. Chapter 9. I cannot contain my jubilation. My subconscious gapes at me in stunned silence, and I wear a face-splitting grin as I gaze longingly up into Christian's tortured eyes. His soft, sweet confession calls to me on some deep elemental level, as if he's seeking absolution. His 3 small words are my manna from heaven. Tears prick my eyes once more. Yes, you do. I know you do. It's such a liberating realization, as if a crushing millstone has been tossed aside. This beautiful, fucked up man, whom I once thought of as my romantic hero, strong, solitary, mysterious, possesses all these traits, but he's also fragile and alienated and full of self-loathing. My heart swells with joy, but also pain for his suffering. And I know in this moment that my heart is big enough for both of us. I hope it's big enough for both of us. I reach out to clasp his dear, handsome face and kiss him gently, pouring all the love I feel into this one sweet connection. I want to devour him beneath the hot, cascading water. Christian groans and encircles me in his arms, holding me as if I am the air he needs to breathe. Oh, Anna, he whispers hoarsely, I want you, but not here. Yes, I murmur fervently into his mouth. He switches off the shower and takes my hand, leading me out and enfolding me in my bathrobe. Grabbing a towel, he He wraps it around his waist, and takes a smaller one and begins to gently dry my hair. When he's satisfied, he swathes the towel around my head so that in a large mirror over the sink, I look like I'm wearing a veil. He's standing behind me and our eyes meet in the mirror, smoldering gray to bright blue, and it gives me an idea. Can I reciprocate? I ask. He nods, though his brow creases. I reach for another towel from the plethora of fluffy towels stacked beside the vanity, and, standing before him on tiptoe, I start to dry his hair. He bends forward, making the process easier, and as I catch the occasional glimpse of his face beneath the towel, I see he's grinning like a small boy. It's a long time since anyone did this to me. A very long time, he murmurs, but then frowns. In fact, I don't think anyone's ever dried my hair. Surely Grace did. Dried your hair when you were young? He shakes his head, hampering my progress. No, she read boundaries from day one, even though it was painful for her. I was very self-sufficient as a child, he says quietly. I feel a swift kick in the ribs as I think of a small copper-haired child looking after himself because no one else cares. The thought is sickeningly sad, but I don't want my melancholy to hijack this blossoming intimacy. Well, I'm honored, I gently tease him. That you are, Miss Steele. Or maybe it is I who am honored. That goes without saying, Mr. Gray, I respond tartly. I finish with his hair, reach for another small towel, and sit down to stand behind him. Our eyes meet again in the mirror, and his watchful, questioning look prompts me to speak. Can I try something? After a moment, he nods. Warily, and very gently, I run the soft cloth down his left arm, soaking up the water that has beaded on his skin. Glancing up, I check his expression in the mirror. He blinks at me, his eyes burning into mine. I lean forward and kiss his bicep, and his lips part infinitesimally. I dry his other arm in a similar fashion, trailing kisses around his bicep, and a small smile plays on his lips. Carefully, I wipe his back beneath the faint lipstick line, which is still visible. I hadn't gotten around to washing his back. Hold back, he says quietly, with the towel. He takes a sharp breath and screws his eyes closed as I briskly dry him, careful to touch him only with the towel. He has such an attractive back, broad, sculptured shoulders, all the small muscles clearly defined. He really looks after himself. The beautiful sight is marred only by his scars. With difficulty, I ignore them and suppress my overwhelming urge to kiss each and every one. When I finish, he exhales, and I lean forward and reward him with a kiss on his shoulder. Putting my arms around him, I dry his stomach. Our eyes meet once more in the mirror, his expression amused, but wary too. Hold this. I hand him a smaller face towel, and he gives me a bemused frown. Remember, Georgia? You made me touch myself using your hands, I add. His face darkens, but I ignore his reaction and put my arms around him. Gazing at us both in the mirror, his beauty, his nakedness, and me with my covered hair, we look almost biblical, as if from an Old Testament Baroque painting. I reach for his hand, which he willingly entrusts to me, and guide that hand up to his chest to dry it, sweeping the towel slowly, awkwardly across his body. Once, twice, then again. He is completely immobilized, rigid with tension, except for his eyes, which follow my hand clasped around his. My subconscious looks on with approval, her normally pursed mouth smiling, and I am the supreme puppetmaster. His anxiety ripples off his back in waves, but he maintains eye contact, though his eyes are darker, more deadly, showing their secrets maybe. Is this a place I want to go? Do I want to confront his demons? I think you're dry now, I whisper, as I drop my hand, gazing into the depths of his eyes in the mirror. His breathing is accelerated, lips parted. I need you, Anastasia, he whispers. I need you too. And as I say the words, I am struck how true they are. I cannot imagine being without Christian, ever. With you, he says hoarsely. Yes, I answer, and turning, he hauls me into his arms, his lips seeking mine, beseeching me, worshiping me, cherishing me, loving me. He trails his fingers up and down my spine as we gaze at each other, basking in our postcoital bliss, replete. We lie together, me on my front hugging my pillow, he on his side, and I am treasuring his tender touch. I know that right now, he needs to touch me. I am a balm for him, a source of solace, and how could I deny him that? I feel exactly the same about him. So you can be gentle, I murmur. So it would seem, Steele. I grin. You weren't particularly the first time we, did this. No, he smirks, when I robbed you of your virtue. I don't think you robbed me, I mutter haughtily. I am not a helpless maiden. I think my virtue was offered up pretty freely and willingly. I wanted you, too, and if I remember correctly, I rather enjoyed myself. I smile shyly at him, biting my lip. So did I, if I recall, Miss Steele. We aim to please, he drawls, and his face softens, serious. And it means you are mine, completely. All trace of humor has vanished as he gazes at me. Yes, I am, I murmur back at him. I wanted to ask you something. Go ahead. Your biological father, do you know who he was? This thought has been bugging me. His brow creases, and then he shakes his head. I have no idea. Wasn't the savage who was her pimp, which is good. How do you know? Something my dad, something Carrick said to me. I gaze at my 50 expectantly, waiting. So hungry for information, Anastasia. He sighs, shaking his head. The pimp discovered the crack whore's body and phoned it into the authorities. It took him 4 days to make the discovery, though. He shut the door when he left me with her body. His eyes cloud at the memory. I inhale sharply. Poor baby boy. The horror is too grim to contemplate. Police interviewed him later. He denied flat out I had anything to do with them, and Carrick said he looked nothing like me. Do you remember what he did look like? Anastasia, this isn't a part of my life I revisit very often. Yes, I remember what he looked like. I'll never forget him. Christian's face darkens and hardens, becoming more angular, his eyes frosting with anger. Can we talk about something else? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. He shakes his head. It's old news, Anna. Not something I want to think about. So, what's this surprise then? I need to change the subject before he goes all 50 on me. His expression lightens immediately. Can you face going out for some fresh air? I want to show you something. Of course. I marvel how quickly he turns, mercurial as ever. He grins at me with his boyish, carefree, I'm only 27 smile, and my heart lurches into my mouth. So it's something close to his heart, I can tell. He swats me playfully on my behind. Get dressed. Jeans will be good. I hope Taylor's packed some for you. He pulls on his boxer briefs. Oh, I could sit here all day watching him wander around the room. Oh, he scolds, bossy as ever. I gaze at him, grinning. Just admiring the view. He rolls his eyes at me. As we dress, I notice that we move with the synchronization of two people who know each other well, each watchful and acutely aware of the other, exchanging the occasional shy smile and sweet touch. And it dawns on me that this is just as new for him as it is for me. Dry your hair, Christian orders once we're dressed. Domineering as ever, I smirk at him, and he leans down to kiss my hair. That's never going to change, baby. I don't want you sick. I roll my eyes at him, and his mouth twists in amusement. My palms still twitch. No, Miss Steele. I am glad to hear it, Mr. Gray. I was beginning to think you were losing your edge. I could easily demonstrate that is not the case, should you so wish. Christian drags a large, cream, cable knit sweater out of his bag and drapes it artfully over his shoulders. With his white t-shirt and jeans, his artfully rumpled hair, and now this, he looks as if he stepped out of the pages of a high-end glossy magazine. No one should look this good, and I don't know if it's the momentary distraction of his perfect looks or the knowledge that he loves me, but his threat no longer fills me with dread. This is my 50 shades. This is the way he is. As I reach for the hairdryer, a tangible ray of hope blossoms. We will find a middle way. We just have to recognize each other's needs and accommodate them. I can do that, surely. I gaze at myself in the dresser mirror. I'm wearing the pale blue shirt the tailor bought and had packed for me. My hair is a mess, my face flushed, my lips swollen. I touch them, remembering Christian's searing kisses, and I can't help a small smile as I stare. Yes, I do, he said. Where are we going exactly? I ask as we wait in the lobby for the parking valet. Christian taps the side of his nose and winks at me conspiratorially, looking like he's desperately trying to contain his glee. Frankly, it's very un-50. He was like this when we went gliding. Perhaps that's what we're doing. I beam back at him. He stares down his nose at me in that superior way. Leaning down, he kisses me gently. Do you have any idea how happy you make me feel? He murmurs. Yes, I know exactly, because you do the same for me. The valet zooms up at Christian's car, wearing an enormous grin. Geez, everyone is so happy. Great car, sir, he mumbles as he hands over the keys. Christian winks and gives him an obscenely large tip. I frown at him. Honestly. As we cruise through traffic, Christian is deep in thought. A young woman's voice comes over the loudspeakers. It has a beautiful, rich, mellow timbre, and I lose myself in her sad, soulful voice. I need to make a detour. It shouldn't take long, he says absentmindedly, distracting me from the song. Oh, why? I'm intrigued to know the surprise. My inner goddess is bouncing about like a 5-year-old. Sure, I murmur. Something is amiss. Suddenly, he looks grimly determined. He pulls into the parking lot of a large car dealership, stops the car, and turns to face me, his expression wary. We need to get you a new car, he says. I gape at him. How? On a Sunday? What the hell? And this is a Saab dealership. Not an Audi? Is, stupidly, the only thing I can think of to say. And, bless him, he actually flushes. Christian, embarrassed. This is a first. I thought you might like something else, he mutters. He's almost squirming. Please, This is too valuable an opportunity not to tease him. I smirk. A sob? Yeah, a 9-3. Come. What is it with you and foreign cars? The Germans and the Swedes make the safest cars in the world, Anastasia. Do they? I thought you'd already ordered me another 3. He gives me a darkly amused look. I can cancel that. Come. Climbing out of the car, he strolls to my side and opens my door. I owe you a graduation present. Yes, I do. Please, come. His tone says he's not to be trifled with. I resign myself to my fate. A sob? Do I want a sob? I quite liked the Audi's submissive special. It was very nifty. Of course, now it's under a ton of white paint. I shudder, and she's still out there. I take Christian's hand, and we wander into the showroom. Troy Turniansky, the salesman, is all over 50 like a cheap suit. He can smell. His accent sounds oddly mid-Atlantic. Maybe British? It's difficult to tell. A sob, sir. Pre-owned. He rubs his hands with glee. New. Christian's lips set into a hard line. New? Did you have a model in mind, sir? And he's smarmy, too. 9.3, 2.0 T. Sports sedan. An excellent choice, sir. What color, Anastasia? Christian inclines his head. Black? I shrug. You really don't need to do this. He frowns. Black's not easily seen at night. Oh, for heaven's sake. I resist the temptation to roll my eyes. You have a black car? He scowls at me. Canary yellow, then. I shrug. Christian makes a face. Canary yellow is obviously not his thing. What color do you want me to have? I ask, as if he's a small child, which he is in many ways. The thought is unwelcome, sad, and sobering at once. Silver or white. Silver, then. You know, I'll take the Audi, I add, chastened by my thoughts. Troy pales, sensing he's losing a sale. Perhaps you like the convertible, ma'am? He asks, clapping his hands with enthusiasm. My subconscious is cringing in disgust, mortified by the whole buying a car business, but my inner goddess tackles her to the floor. Convertible? Drool! Christian frowns and peers at me. Convertible? He asks, raising an eyebrow. I fazz. It's most inconvenient at times. I stare down at my hands. Christian turns to Troy. What are the safety stats on the convertible? Troy, sensing Christian's vulnerability, heads in for the kill, reeling off all manner of statistics. Naturally, Christian wants me safe. It's a religion with him, and like the zealot he is, he listens intently to Troy's well-honed patter. 50 really does care. Yes, I do. I remember his whispered, choked words from this morning, and a melting glow spreads like warm honey through my veins. This man, God's gift to women, loves me. I find myself grinning goofily at him, and when he glances down at me, he's amused yet puzzled by my expression. I want to hug myself, I am so happy. Whatever you're high on, I'd like some to steal, he murmurs as Troy heads off to his computer. I'm high on you, Mr. Gray. Really? Well, you certainly look intoxicated. He kisses me briefly, and thank you for accepting the car. That was easier than last time. Well, it's not an Audi A3. He smirks. That's not the car for you. I liked it. Sir, the 9-3. I've located one at our Beverly Hills dealership. We can have it here for you in a couple of days. Troy glows with triumph. Top of the range. Yes, sir. Excellent. Christian produces his credit card, or is it Taylor's? The thought is unnerving. I wonder how Taylor is and if he's located Layla in the apartment. I rub my forehead. Yes, there's all of Christian's baggage, too. If you'll come this way, Mr. Troy glances at the name on the card. Gray. Christian opens my door, and I climb back into the passenger seat. Thank you, I say when he's seated beside me. He smiles. You are most welcome, Anastasia. The music starts again as Christian starts the engine. Who's this? I ask. Eva Cassidy. She has a lovely voice. She does. She did. Oh, she died young. Oh, are you hungry? You didn't finish all your breakfast. He glances quickly at me, disapproval outlined on his face. Uh-oh. Yes. Lunch first, then. Christian drives toward the waterfront and then heads north along the Alaskan Way Viaduct. It's another beautiful day in Seattle. It's been uncharacteristically fine for the last few weeks. Christian looks happy and relaxed as we sit back listening to Eva Cassidy's sweet, soulful voice and cruise down the highway. Have I ever felt this comfortable in his company before? I don't know. I am less nervous of his moods, confident that he won't punish me, and he seems more comfortable with me, too. He turns left, following the coast road, and eventually pulls up in a parking lot opposite a vast marina. We'll eat here. I'll open your door, he says in such a way that I know it's not wise to move, and I watch him move around the car. Will this ever get old? We stroll arm in arm to the waterfront, where the marina stretches out in front of us. So many boats, I murmur in wonder. There are hundreds of them in all shapes and sizes, bobbing up and down on the calm, still waters of the marina. Out on Puget Sound, there are dozens of sails in the wind, weaving to and fro. It's a wholesome, outdoorsy sight. The wind has picked up a little, so I pull my jacket around me. Cold? He asks and pulls me tightly against him. No, just admiring the view. I could stare at it all day. Come, this way. Christian leads me into a large seafront bar and makes his way to the counter. The decor is more New England than West Coast. White-limed walls, pale blue furnishings, and boating paraphernalia hanging everywhere. It's a bright, cheery place. Mr. Bray! The barman greets Christian warmly. What can I get you this afternoon? Dante, good afternoon. Christian grins as we both slip onto bar stools. This lovely lady is Anastasia Steele. Welcome to SP's place. Dante gives me a friendly smile. He's black and beautiful, his dark eyes assessing me and not finding me wanting, it seems. One large diamond stud winks at me from his ear. I like him immediately. What would you like to drink, Anastasia? I glance at Christian, who regards me expectantly. Oh, he's going to let me choose. Please, call me Anna, and I'll have whatever Christian's drinking. I smile shyly at Dante. 50's so much better at wine than I am. I'm going to have a beer. This is the only bar in Seattle where you can get an Adnams Explorer. A beer? Yes. He grins at me. 2 Explorers, please, Dante. Dante nods and sets up the beers on the bar. They do a delicious seafood chowder here, Christian says. He's asking me. Chowder and beer sound great. I smile at him. 2 chowders, Dante asks. Please. Christian grins at him. We talk through our meal, as we never have before. Christian is relaxed and calm. He looks young, happy, and animated despite all that transpired yesterday. He recounts the history of Gray Enterprises Holdings, Inc., and the more he reveals, the more I sense his passion for fixing problem companies, his hopes for the technology he's developing, and his dreams of making land in the third world more productive. I listen, enraptured. He's funny, clever, philanthropic, and beautiful. And he loves me. In turn, he plagues me with questions about Ray and my mom, about growing up in the lush forests of Montesano, and my brief stints in Texas and Vegas. He demands to know my favorite books and films, and I'm surprised by how much we have in common. As we talk, it strikes me that he's turned from Hardy's Alec to Angel, debasement to high ideal in such a short space of time. It's after 2 when we finish our meal. Christian settles the tab with Dante, who wishes us a fond farewell. This is a great place. Thank you for lunch, I say as Christian takes my hand and we leave the bar. We'll come again, he says, and we stroll along the waterfront. I wanted to show you something. I know, and I can't wait to see it, whatever it is. We wander hand in hand along the marina. It is such a pleasant afternoon. People are out enjoying their Sunday, walking dogs, admiring the boats, watching their kids run along the promenade. As we head down the marina, the boats grow progressively larger. Christian leads me onto the dock and stops in front of a huge catamaran. I thought we'd go sailing this afternoon. This is my boat. Holy cow! It must be at least 40, maybe 50 feet. 2 sleek white hulls, a deck, a roomy cabin, and towering overhead an impressive mast. I know nothing about boats, but I can tell this one is special. Wow, I murmur in wonder. Built by my company, he says proudly, and my heart swells. She's been designed from the ground up by the very best naval architects in the world and constructed here in Seattle at my yard. She has hybrid electric drives, asymmetric dagger boards, a square-topped mainsail. Okay, you've lost me, Christian. He grins. She's a great boat. She looks mighty fine, Mr. Gray. That she does, Miss Steele. What's her name? He pulls me to the side so I can see her name. The Grace. I'm surprised. You named her after your mom? Yes. He cocks his head to one side, quizzical. Why do you find that strange? I shrug. I'm surprised. He always seems ambivalent in her presence. I adore my mom, Anastasia. Why wouldn't I name a boat after her? I flush. No, it's not that. It's just... Shit. How can I put this into words? Anastasia, Grace Trevelyan Gray saved my life. I owe her everything. I gaze at him and let the reverence in his softly spoken admission wash over me. It's obvious to me, for the first time, that he loves his mom. Why then his strange, strained ambivalence toward her? Do you want to come forward? He asks, his eyes bright, excited. Yes, please. I smile. He looks delighted, and grasping my hand, he strides up the small gangplank, taking me aboard. We stand on deck beneath a rigid canopy. To one side, there's a table and a U-shaped banquette covered in pale blue leather, which must seat at least 8 people. I glance through the sliding doors to the interior of the cabin and jump, startled, when I spy someone there. The tall blonde man opens the sliding doors and emerges. Tan, curly-haired, and brown-eyed, wearing a faded pink short-sleeved polo shirt, shorts, and deck shoes. He must be in his early 30s. Back, Christian beams. Mr. Gray, welcome back. They shake hands. Anastasia, this is Liam McConnell. Liam, my girlfriend, Anastasia Steele. Girlfriend? My inner goddess performs a quick arabesque. She's still grinning over the convertible. I have to get used to this. It's not the first time he said it, but hearing him say it is still a thrill. How do you do? Liam and I shake hands. Call me Mac, he says warmly, and I can't place his accent. Welcome aboard, Miss Steele. Anna, please, I mutter, flushing. He has deep brown eyes. How is she shaping up, Mac? Christian interjects quickly, and for a moment, I think he's talking about me. She's ready to rock and roll, sir. Mac is. Oh, the boat. The Grace. Silly me. Let's get her underway then. You're going to take her out? Yep. Christian flashes Mac a wicked grin. Quick tour, Anastasia? Yes, please. I follow him inside the cabin. An L-shaped cream leather sofa is directly in front of us, and above it, a massive curved window offers a panoramic view of the marina. To the left, very well appointed, all pale wood. This is the main saloon. Galley beside, Christian says, waving his hand in the direction of the kitchen. He takes my hand and leads me through the main cabin. It's surprisingly spacious. The floor is the same pale wood. It looks modern and sleek and has a light, airy feel, but it's all very functional, as if he doesn't spend much time here. Bathrooms on either side. Christian points to two doors, then opens the small, oddly shaped door directly in front of us and steps in. We're in a plush bedroom. Oh. It has a king-sized cabin bed and is all pale blue linen and pale wood like his bedroom at Escala. Christian obviously chooses a theme and sticks to it. This is the master cabin. He gazes down at me, eyes glowing. You're the first girl in here, apart from family, he says. They don't count. I flush under his heated stare, and my pulse quickens. Really? Another first. He pulls me into his arms, his fingers tangling in my hair, and kisses me, long and hard. We're both breathless when he pulls away. Might have to christen this bed, he whispers against my mouth. Oh, at sea. But not right now. Come, Mac will be casting off. I ignore the stab of disappointment as he takes my hand and leads me back through the saloon. He indicates another door. Office in there, and at the front here, two more cabins. So how many can sleep on board? It's a 6-berth cat. I've only ever had the family on board, though. I like to sail alone. But not when you're here. I need to keep an eye on you. He delves into a chest and pulls out a bright red life jacket. Here. Putting it over my head, he tightens all the straps, a faint smile playing on his lips. You love strapping me in, don't you? In any form, he says, a salacious grin playing on his lips. You are a pervert. I know. He raises his eyebrows and his grin broadens. My pervert, I whisper. Yes, yours. Once secured, he grabs the sides of the life jacket and kisses me. Always. He breathes, then releases me before I have a chance to respond. Always? Holy shit. Come. He grabs my hand and leads me outside, up some steps and onto the upper deck to a small cockpit that houses a big steering wheel and a raised seat. At the prow of the boat, Mac is doing something with ropes. Is this where you learned all your rope tricks? I asked Christian innocently. Clove hitches have come in handy, he says, looking at me appraisingly. Miss Steele, you sound curious. I like you curious. I'd be more than happy to demonstrate what I can do with a rope. He smirks at me, and I gaze back impassively, as if he's upset me. His face falls. Gotcha, I grin. His mouth twists and he narrows his eyes. I may have to deal with you later, but right now, I'm life. Matt comes scooting back down the side of the boat, grinning at me, and jumps down to the deck below where he starts to unfasten a rope. Maybe he knows some rope tricks too. The idea pops unwelcome into my head, and I flush. My subconscious glares at me. Mentally, I shrug at her and glance at Christian. I blame 50. He picks up the receiver and radios the Coast Guard as Mac calls up that we are set to go. Once more, I am dazzled by Christian's expertise. Is there nothing that this man can? Then I remember his earnest attempt to chop and dice a pepper in my apartment on Friday. The thought makes me smile. Slowly, Christian eases the Grace out of her berth and toward the marina entrance. Behind us, a small crowd has gathered on the dockside to watch our departure. Small children are waving, and I wave back. Christian glances over his shoulder, then pulls me between his legs and points out various dials and gadgets in the cockpit. Grab the wheel, he orders, bossy as ever, but I do as I'm told. Aye aye, Captain, I giggle. Placing his hand snugly over mine, he continues to steer our course out of the marina, and within a few minutes, we are out on the open sea, the cold blue waters of Puget Sound. Away from the shelter of the marina's protective wall, the wind is stronger, and the sea pitches and rolls beneath us. I can't help but grin, feeling Christian's excitement. This is such fun. We make a large curve until we are heading west toward the Olympic Peninsula, the wind behind us. Sail time, Christian says, excited. Here, you take her. Keep her on this course. What? He grins, reacting to the horror in my face. Baby, it's really easy. Hold the wheel and keep your eye on the horizon over the bow. You'll do great. You always do. When the sails go up, you'll feel the drag. Just hold her steady. I'll signal like this. He makes a slashing motion across his throat, and you can cut the engines. This button here. He points to a large black button. Understand? Yes. I nod frantically, feeling panicky. Holy cow. I hadn't expected to do anything. He kisses me quickly, then steps off his captain's chair and bounds the boat to join Mac, where he starts unfurling sails, untying ropes, and operating winches and pulleys. They work well together in a team, shouting various nautical terms to each other, and it's warming to see 50 interacting with someone else in such a carefree manner. Perhaps Mac is 50's friend. He doesn't seem to have many, as far as I can tell, but then I don't have many either. Well, not here in Seattle. The only friend I have is on vacation, sunning herself in St. James on the west coast of Barbados. I feel a sudden pang for Kate. I miss my roommate more than I thought I would when she left. I hope she changes her mind and comes home with her brother Ethan, rather than prolong her stay with Christian's brother, Elliot. Christian and Mac hoist the mainsail. It fills and billows out as the wind seizes it hungrily, and the boat lurches suddenly, zipping forward. I feel it through the wheel. Whoa. They get to work on the headsail. I watch, fascinated as it flies up the mast. The wind catches it, stretching it taut. Hold her steady, baby, and cut the engines. Christian cries out to me over the wind, motioning me to switch off the engines. I can only just hear his voice, but I nod enthusiastically, gazing at the man I love, all windswept, exhilarated, and bracing himself against the pitch and yaw of the boat. I press the button. The roar of the engines ceases, and the Grace soars toward the Olympic Peninsula, skimming across the water as if she's flying. I want to yell and scream and cheer. This has to be one of the most exhilarating experiences of my life. Except perhaps the glider, and maybe the red room of pain. Whoa, this boat can move. I stand firm, grasping the wheel, fighting the rudder, and Christian is behind me once more, his hands on mine. What do you think? He shouts above the sound of the wind and the sea. Christian, this is fantastic. He beams, grinning from ear to ear. You wait until the spinning's up. He points with his chin toward Mac, who is unfurling the spinnaker, a sail that's a dark, rich red. It reminds me of the walls in the playroom. Interesting color, I shout. He gives me a wolfish grin and winks. Oh, it's deliberate. The spinny balloons out, a large, odd, elliptical shape, putting the Grace in overdrive. Finding her head, she speeds over the sound. Asymmetrical sail, for speed. Christian answers my unasked question. It's amazing. I can think of nothing better to say. I have the most ridiculous grin on my face as we whip through the water, heading for the majesty of the Olympic Mountains and Bainbridge Island. Glancing back, I see Seattle shrinking behind us, Mount Rainier in the far distance. I had not really appreciated how beautiful and rugged Seattle's surrounding landscape is. Verdant, lush, and temperate, tall evergreens and cliff faces jutting out here and there. It has a wild but serene beauty on this glorious sunny afternoon that takes my breath away. The stillness is stunning compared to our speed as we whip across the water. How fast are we going? She's doing 15 knots. I have no idea what that means. It's about 17 miles an hour. Is that all? It feels much faster. He squeezes my hands, smiling. You look lovely, Anastasia. It's good to see some color in your cheeks, and not from blushing. You look like you do in Jose's photos. I turn and kiss him. You know how to show a girl a good time, Mr. Gray. We aim to please, Miss Steele. He scoops my out of the way and kisses the back of my neck, sending delicious tingles down my spine. I like seeing you happy. He murmurs and tightens his arms around me. I gaze out over the wide blue water, wondering what I could possibly have done in the past to have fortune smile and deliver this man to me. Yes, you're a lucky bitch, my subconscious snaps. But you have your work cut out with him. He's not going to want this vanilla crap forever. You're going to have to compromise. I glare mentally at her snarky, insolent face and rest my head against Christian's chest. Deep down, I know my subconscious is right, but I banish the thoughts. I don't want to spoil my day. We are anchored in a small, secluded cove off Bainbridge Island. Mac has gone ashore in the inflatable dinghy. For what? I don't know. But I have my suspicions because as soon as Mac starts the outboard engine, Christian grabs my hand and practically drags me into his cabin. A man with a mission. Now he stands before me, exuding his intoxicating sensuality as his deft fingers make quick work of the straps on my life jacket. He tosses it to one side and gazes intently down at me, eyes dark, dilated. I am already lost and he's barely touched me. He raises his hand to my face and his fingers move down my chin, the column of my throat, my sternum, searing me with his touch to the first button of my blue blouse. I want to see you, he breathes and dexterously undoes the button. Bending, he plants a soft kiss on my parted lips. I am panting and eager, aroused by the potent combination of his captivating beauty, his raw sexuality in the confines of this cabin, and the gentle sway of the boat. He stands back. Strip for me, he whispers, eyes burning. Oh my, I'm only too happy to comply. Not taking my eyes off his, I slowly undo each button, savoring his scorching gaze. Oh, this is heady stuff. I see his desire. It's evident on his face and elsewhere. I let my shirt fall to the floor and reach for the button on my jeans. Stop, he orders. Sit. I sit down on the edge of the bed, and in one fluid movement, he's on his knees in front of me, undoing the laces of first one and then the other sneaker, pulling each off, followed by my socks. He picks up my left foot and, raising it, plants a soft kiss on the pad of my big toe, then grazes his teeth against it. Ah! I moan as I feel the effect in my groin. He stands in one smooth move, holds his hand out to me, and pulls me up off the bed. Continue, he says, and stands back to watch me. I ease the zipper of my jeans down and hook my thumbs in the waistband as I sashay then slide the denim down my legs. A soft smile plays on his lips, but his eyes remain dark. And I don't know if it's because he made love to me this morning, and I mean really made love to me, gently, sweetly, or if it was his impassioned declaration, yes, I do, but I don't feel embarrassed at all. I want to be sexy for this man. He deserves sexy. He makes me feel sexy. Okay, it's new to me, but I'm learning under his expert tutelage. And then again, so much is new to him, too. It balances the seesaw between us, a little, I think. I am wearing some of my new underwear, a white lacy thong and matching bra, a designer brand with a price tag to match. I step out of my jeans and stand there for him in the lingerie he's paid for, but I no longer feel cheap. I feel his. Reaching behind, I unhook my bra, sliding the straps down my arms, and drop it on top of my blouse. Slowly, I slip my panties off, letting them fall to my ankles, and step out of them, surprised by my grace. Standing before him, I am naked and unashamed, and I know it's because he loves me. I no longer have to hide. He says nothing, just gazes at me. All I see is his desire, his adoration even, and something else. The depth of his need, the depth of his love for me. He reaches down, lifts the hem of his cream-colored sweater, and pulls it over his head, followed by his t-shirt, revealing his chest, never taking his bold gray eyes off mine. His shoes and socks follow before he grasps the button of his jeans. Reaching over, I whisper, "Let me." His lips purse briefly into an shape, and he smiles. "Be my guest." I step toward him, slip my fearless fingers inside the waistband of his jeans, and tug, so he's forced to take a step closer to me. He gasps involuntarily at my unexpected audacity, then smiles down at me. I undo the button, but before I unzip him, I let my fingers wander, tracing his erection through the soft denim. He flexes his hips into my palm and closes his eyes briefly, relishing my touch. "You are getting so bold, Anna, so brave," he whispers, and clasps my face with both hands, bending to kiss me deeply. I put my hands on his hips, half on his cool skin, and half on the low-slung waistband of his jeans. "So are you," I murmur against his lips, as my thumbs rub slow circles on his skin, and he smiles. "Getting there." I move my hands to the front of his jeans and pull down the zipper. My intrepid fingers move through his pubic hair to his erection, and I grasp him tightly. He makes a low sound in his throat, his sweet breath washing over me, and he kisses me again, lovingly. As my hand moves over him, around him, stroking him, squeezing him tightly, he puts his arms around me, his right hand flat against the middle of my back and his fingers spread. His left hand is in my hair, holding me to his mouth. "Oh, I want you so much, baby," he breathes, and steps back suddenly to remove his jeans and boxers in one swift, agile move. He is a fine, fine sight in or out of clothes. Every single inch of him. He is perfect. His beauty desecrated only by his scars, I think, sadly. And they run so much deeper than his skin. "What's wrong, Anna?" he murmurs and gently strokes my cheek with his knuckles. "Nothing. Love me, now." He pulls me into his arms, kissing me, twisting his hands into my hair. Our tongues entwine. He walks me backward to the bed and gently lowers me onto it, following me down so that he's lying by my side. He runs his nose along my jawline as my hands move to his hair.
So I didn't make
"Do
any
you have
changes
any
that I
idea how exquisite your scent is, Anna? It's irresistible." His words do what they always do, flame my blood, quicken my pulse, and he trails his nose down my throat, across my breasts, kissing me reverentially as he does. "You are so beautiful, he murmurs, as he takes one of my nipples in his mouth and softly suckles. I moan as my body bows off the bed. Let me hear you, baby. His hand trails down to my waist, and I glory in the feel of his touch, skin to skin, his hungry mouth at my breasts and his skilled, long fingers caressing and stroking me, cherishing me, moving over my hips, over my behind, and down my leg to my knee. And all this time he's kissing and sucking my breasts. Grasping my knee, he suddenly hitches up my leg, curling it over his hips, making me gasp, and I feel, rather than see, his responding grin against my skin. He rolls over so that I am astride him and hands me a foil packet. I shift back, resist him in all his glory. I bend and kiss him, taking him in my mouth, swirling my tongue around him, then sucking hard. He groans and flexes his hips so that he's deeper in my mouth. He tastes good. I want him inside me. I sit up and gaze at him. He's breathless, mouth open, watching me intently. Hurriedly, I tear open the condom and unroll it over him. He holds out his hands for me. I take one and with my other hand position myself over him, then slowly claim him as mine. He groans low in his throat, closing his eyes. The feel of him in me, stretching, filling me. I moan softly. It's divine. He places his hands on my hips and moves me up, down, and pushes into me. Oh, it's so good. Oh, baby, he whispers. And suddenly he sits up so we're nose to arms as he clasps my head in his hands and gazes into my eyes. His intense and gray, burning with desire. Oh, Anna, what you make me feel. He murmurs and kisses me passionately with fervent ardor. I kiss him back, dizzy with the delicious feeling of him buried deep inside me. Oh, I love you, I murmur. He groans as if pained to hear my whispered words and rolls over, taking me with him without breaking our precious contact, so that I'm lying beneath him. I wrap my legs around his waist. He stares down at me with the door